Good evening. I'd like to call to order the Hutchinson City Council meeting, February 3rd, 2026. Mary, call roll.
Truan.
Here.
Garza.
Here.
Goss.
Here.
Fast.
Here.
Magers.
Here.
Pledge of allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Tonight we have Victor Halfmoon here from the Legacy Bible Church to give us the prayer.
Let's pray. Father, we come before your throne of grace and lift these procedures and decisions to you. Lord, we ask you to pour out your wisdom and abundance upon the council members and guests as they discuss the needs of our community. May their words be spoken with respect and seasoned with grace. Lord, you know all things, and you know perfectly the needs of everyone who is here. Meet their spiritual, financial, physical needs in accordance with the measure of your grace. Grant repentance and forgiveness and mend relationships. Encourage, sustain, and comfort each one in the days ahead. We ask these things in Christ's name and by the power of your Holy Spirit. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you. Next item, Mary.
Item number 4, proclamations. We have none. Item number 5, petitions, remonstrances, and oral communications from the audience.
This is the part of the agenda where we hear oral communications from the audience. Please limit your remarks to 5 minutes. And for items not on the agenda, audience members may address the items on the agenda when discussed by City Council. If anybody has any items to discuss, please come to the podium. And make sure you state your name and address. Seeing none, next item.
Item number 6, consent agenda.
Has council had time to read through everything on the consent agenda? Any questions, comments, concerns?
I've read it. I don't have any questions.
No.
Same.
Looking for a motion.
Move to approve the consent agenda and authorize the mayor to sign.
Second.
Truan.
Yes.
Garza.
Yes.
Goss.
Yes.
Fast.
Yes.
Magers.
Yes.
Item number 7, public hearing. Public hearing and resolution determining the advisability of issuing taxable industrial revenue bonds on behalf of SDI Sales Data Incorporated.
Move to open the public hearing.
Second.
Truan.
Yes.
Garza.
Yes.
Goss.
Yes.
Fast.
Yes.
Magers.
Yes.
Angela Richard, Director of Finance. Before you tonight, we have a public hearing to hear the advisability of issuing taxable industrial revenue bonds for SDI. After I go through the routine things that I will cover regarding the process, we have Lauren from the Chamber and some representatives here to describe the project for you. So SDI is proposing to issue industrial revenue bonds to for the construction, furnishing, and equipping of a commercial facility that is 101,754 square feet expansion of their current facility. The estimated amount of the IRBs is $2 million. Notices were mailed to USD 308 and Reno County along with publication in the newspaper. For your benefit, the cost-benefit analysis has been included, and you can see that this project does show a benefit that outweighs the cost of the IRBs for all related taxing entities. By adopting this ordinance, the City Council would approve issuing industrial revenue bonds for this project. This project is a little bit different in that where they propose to do the construction is a long-term lease with the city. So I just wanted to note that going forward, we will become the owner, they'll become the leaseholder, but at the end of that term, we might talk about what we want to do with that land. So just so you're aware of that for the future. The city will not be responsible for any of the expenses related to issuing industrial revenue bonds. We are not responsible for the debt in any way, and no city funds will be used for the project. They are asking for a 10-year property tax abatement. So I'll stand for any questions, and if you don't have any questions of me, I'll turn it over to Lauren from the chamber.
Council have any questions?
I think my questions are for Lauren.
Okay, Lauren, if you'd like to come up.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Lauren Storm. I am the Business Retention Expansion and Workforce Program Manager for Greater Hutch, which is the Economic Development Partnership underneath the umbrella of the Hutchinson Reno County Chamber of Commerce. It is my pleasure this evening to present and introduce the expansion project that is being undertaken by SDI Maps, and what the great benefits that that's going to afford the city. So over the last year, Greater Hutch and the city of Hutchinson have worked closely with SDI Maps in their plan for their facility renovation and workforce expansion here in Hutchinson. They were established in 1976, and they continue to be one of the primary suppliers and installers of POS systems for over 2,700 McDonald's stores nationwide. And they have seen unprecedented growth in the last year alone to accommodate the growing technological advancement demands from McDonald's and their systems upgrades. So what was very notable to me is that within their 50 years of local ownership and operations, this is the first time they have gone outside of their own financial resources to accommodate the unprecedented expansion that is being demanded of them. And am encouraged, as I always am, by the partnership and willingness of City of Hutchinson to answer that call. In their current impact is, our time of reporting, is 120 jobs and still growing, $6 million in annual salaries, 416,181 of net benefits of fiscal impact to the city of Hutchinson alone. And these are all findings from the cost-benefit analysis that was produced by Kansas Department of Commerce and is provided in your packet this evening. And something also important of note is that the majority of the revenue that they generate is from out of state. So this is revenue that is being brought into Kansas and into Hutchinson to infuse our economic base. So with the request of the issuance of these industrial revenue bonds to fund this first phase of renovation of their existing over 100,000 square foot footprint at the south facilities at their Adams location will create a minimum of 50 new jobs with an average wage of $41,665, so well above our median county wage, and growing jobs in the technology sector starting in 2026. The renovation of this existing space is going to accommodate the growth of their workforce to up to 118 office jobs, and that'll be in addition to the service technician jobs that they have in the field. Over a 15-year projection, which is what, though the bonds will be issued for 10 years at 100% is the request, but the return of investment will be seen in very short order, with a payback in just 4 years at a 28.1% of return to the city of Hutchinson and various points of return to the other taxable entities. The expansion is underway as there are still long lead times in the supply chain, and we hope to connect the company with these essential benefits to support their expansion now and in the future with future phases of their expansion. I would be happy to stand for questions, and after which we also have representatives from the company that are happy to speak to their project and their expansion.
I have a question I'll ask, and then you guys can decide who wants to answer it. So they're staying at the current location. Would any other tenants in that building be relocated?
That has not been decided, and I would probably let the company speak to that. But because of the acquisition of property that was previously the furniture store, that has allowed them to utilize that space in their expansion and renovate that to their purposes.
And this might be for Angela or Paul Brown. Why are we leasing for 67 years? I think I read
Longer than
land?
that.
Okay. I
It's
thought I
99
read-
years.
How many?
99 years.
Okay, I thought I read some weird number that caused me concern, because it's not a lot of land that we're leasing to them. Why don't we just sell it? That would be my question.
Well, first of all, we have a 99-year lease.
Okay.
And at the time that that property was acquired, that was part of the Woody seat and doing the intersection and the highway. And there were previous prohibitions for a property that was obtained by eminent domain, and you couldn't sell it. That's why it was leased.
Okay. All right, well, this works.
If there's no other questions of me, then I'd be happy to pass it over to Jerry Boone with SDI.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Jerry Boone, SDI. I also have my business partner, Josh Barnett, back here with me. Josh and I are equal partners in SDI and became partners after the passing of William Mason in 2020. Since then, we've done a lot of business in a very tall building in Chicago. Houses the McDonald's Corporation, and we have a lot of connections in that industry and that business, and that's been very good for us and good for Hutchinson. As far as our building goes, we started doing business there in 1991, and the building was really way too large for what we were doing at the time. So it was leased to other tenants as it was a retail space originally, and over time we've taken pieces of that back as tenants have moved on. And at this time, the only tenant left is Dollar General, who has a standing lease to 2033. At that time, we will certainly be evaluating whether we keep them as tenants. As of today, as mentioned, 120 employees. That number is actually a little over 130 today. So we are underway, we are growing, and it has grown since this IRB came to fruition. 50 jobs, 170 target is certainly in our wheelhouse. The numbers shown on the report are really for the 15-year period that the document was drafted for. And why an IRB? We as Lauren mentioned, 50 years here, we've never asked for assistance. And in fact, one of the things that I'm proud of is that we share the north end of our parking lot with Reno County and the police department and so on. And I think that's been a mutual partnership for all of us, and we look forward to continue doing that. Given the growth that we're experiencing, some of the options that we've looked at may involve building on that land that we currently have for parking space. We'd rather build to the south and potentially to the west if we can require some land with the Woody seat displacement and leave that for Reno County. So we just appreciate the help a lot. We have a lot of options in our growth. Being a business that's working in all 50 states and Hawaii included, a lot of our business is very centered in large metro areas, and we could very easily stand up offices and grow in those metro areas and expand in a more distributed, uniform way, I suppose, if you're looking at the U.S., but we choose to grow that with the people here in this very town. We find the culture here to be one of the best cultures we've seen in our industry. We have people that just care a little more here. So just wanted to mention that. So with that, I leave it for questions.
Jerry, I just want to thank you for bringing your business to Hutchinson and keeping it here. And we want to work with you to make sure that you continue to keep it here. So of your employee base, how many of your employees, I know you're all across the country, how many of them are actually here and how many of them are remote or work from out of other areas? Just curious.
So I would say we're around 110 to 115 local, and then we've got 5 account managers that are distributed, and probably another 5 to 10 installers out there, and a couple more business support guys. So, yeah,
Okay. That's all I had. I just want to thank you for your
Thank you.
business here.
appreciate it, Scott.
I really, more of a remark, I think your business is really interesting. When I very first heard of what you guys do there, I was like, they do what? Here in Hutch? That's cool, but weird. So I've just always thought you guys were just a really cool business and really flying under the radar. I had no idea you had that many people working in that building or even employed right there. So that, I think that just is kudos to you. And I think what you said about that the workforce here cares a little more. Also, it's a lot more affordable to have your base here than in Denver or Chicago or even Wichita. And that probably helps you on your bottom line as well. So I really think you guys have done some great work and look forward to continuing to watch you grow. My only hope for your building is that you would let someone paint a mural on the back of it, because that's going to be the first thing people see when they come down off the new Woody seat when it finally opens up this summer. And it would be cool if it was a really big, like, welcome to Hutch thing. So
We'll take that into consideration, Stacy. Thank
I
you.
won't draw it for you or anything, but
Well, we might use your help.
it would be cool.
There are
And
some,
not that I'm counting or anything, but we have like 436 parking spots in the lot, so
Oh, nice.
there's plenty of room for
Yeah.
more.
well, Stacy, you stole what I was going to ask of him. I thought it was a perfect timing. There is some folks in the neighborhood over there that would love to have some sort of mural on the back of your building. Thank you for what you're doing, and thank you for your kind words about the city. It's good to hear positive things every once in a while about our city. So thanks.
Thank you, Greg.
Now, what, do you monitor the equipment in all of McDonald's? Is that what you do, their computers and everything? What do you, explain to me?
Sure. So our business is in thirds. A third of our business is selling new hardware to restaurants. That's all technology items from the kiosks in the lobby to the front counter registers to kitchen technology equipment to show orders that are in process, and some drive-through technology as well. That's a third of it. Then another third is that we have projects that we go out and do to upgrade all this stuff, and that usually ends up about 30% of what we do. And then the last third of our business is contracts that we have with restaurants where we agree to service and replace equipment on a regular basis for them when it breaks, break-fix program. So that's it.
And I, again, thank you for coming to Hutch and staying here with us. Yeah.
Thanks, Steve. All right, any further?
No, sir.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Are there any questions or comments from the audience? If not, Angela?
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
Chris Link, 3506 North Lorraine. So my first question is, if this is a successful business, which it sounds like, you guys haven't asked for any assistance, and that's good. That's what you're not supposed to do. I don't get to go and ask for government assistance whenever I need to. So thank you and good job. But if this is a successful business, why can you not get private investors? Why do we need to use public funds for this expansion? And I'll let you answer these here in a few minutes. And why is it the government's job to pick winners and losers? Are you guys going to allow anybody who can claim that they're going to be successful in the future to take public money and hopefully bring a benefit in the future. I don't think it's the government's job to do that. I think that's promoting unequal weights and measures, and that is showing partiality, and I don't think that's right. I think that we should allow the companies and the people to stand on their merits, and I pray that they're successful. I want Hutchinson to be just as successful as we can be, but we've got to do it the right way. We've got to do it the righteous way. We've got to do it according to God's standard. And so I just ask that you answer my question about why we can't find private investors and why we should allow public funds to take the place of private investors. That's all I've got. Thank you.
Thank you.
I don't know if you want me to speak
You
say
could,
that.
you could comment, or I could. This is a long-standing program that businesses use to do projects. There's been many over the last 4 years that I've been sitting here, and it gives up sales tax and a tax abatement for 10 years. I use Siemens as an example. You know, we gave away a lot to get Siemens here. They wouldn't have came here without those incentives, but right now they're paying over $1 million in property tax every year after that 10 years. So the question I would say to you, is it worth it? It's not? Okay.
Doing it unrighteously is not worth it.
Council, and I would say too, I understand the terminology can get a little confusing, but with an IRB, it's essentially just using the city's name to not pay sales tax on construction goods. So there's actually no taxes or like public funding for this. It's just using the city's name. I mean, it's a little more than that, but I'm boiling it down for substance purposes, that it's using the city's name to not pay sales tax on the construction material.
This also isn't the only tool available, and yes, it is available to everybody because this property is in our neighborhood revitalization plan area, and so any property south of 11th Street would be able to come up here and apply for the exact same thing. They're just using the IRB instead of the NRP program, but both programs are available. The NRP is a little bit more robust and allows for the purchasing of a little different items than the NRP. The NRP is really just a tax abatement on the property and the improvements made on the building, whereas the IRB is the sales tax abatement on the construction equipment and the furnishings. So, yeah, absolutely. If you own a business south of 11th Street, come on up here and ask, because that's the NRP, and it's just a little different program, but it's available to anybody. So we're not picking winners and losers by any means. I didn't know this guy from Adam before today, so.
Nobody north of 11th.
If you're gonna speak, you need to come to the mic, please.
Nobody north of 11th is available for the NRP right now because we haven't expanded it. But we've specifically chosen to keep it south of 11th Street because that's where we want to drive business. We have had conversations as a council last year about expanding it to be the entire city. The whole county is an NRP too. So the county commission is also picking winners and losers by that logic.
And I don't agree with any of that, but
Okay.
you just told me that nobody north of 11th, but you're not picking winners and losers. So any business north of 11th can't get public funds. So I don't understand.
These
how
aren't
that's
public
not-
funds.
So a bond issue in IRB, I guess I don't understand the bond, that's 2 million bond. That's not going to increase any tax burden on any of the
Let me
taxpayers in the
answer that,
council.
council.
Yes, please.
This is not public funding at all.
Where's it coming
SDI
from?
will get their own loan. The only thing it allows them to do is get a favorable interest rate. There are no public funds here at all.
Okay. Well, thank you for the clarification. I still don't understand why the government's involved in this, but thank you for the clarification, and that does answer a lot of my questions. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Paul.
May I ask a question? Is it still open?
Yes,
Yep.
go ahead.
Hi, Katie Link, 3506 North Lorraine as well. So I had one comment that Mr. Fash, you mentioned that it's been longstanding. That is not a great defense of something. Just because it's been around for a long time doesn't mean it's a good policy. Slavery was around for a long time. That was not a good policy. Secondly, There is a proposed tax increase, sales tax increase for the city coming up, a vote in the next month. So obviously, there's a little bit of struggle with the city budget. I would like to know how much money would the city make if we did not do this IRB and actually tax them the way we tax other people? Have you guys done that calculation? How much in taxes is the city losing by giving them this favorable discount?
We literally said it's going to repay itself within 4 years. What we lose is the opportunity, and that's hard to put into dollars because the opportunity cost is they wouldn't be able to do this expansion. Gun Bros wouldn't have built. Siemens wouldn't have built. This is a program that has proven successful time after time after time. We are not the only city. We are not the only county who uses this tool. The IRB is nothing special. There is nothing special about SDI. Everything that we said nice about them, we would say that to any other successful business who came up here and applied for the NRP or for the IRB, who has already been vetted by an investment group and by bond counsel for the program and the Department of Commerce.
And
We didn't make this up on our
No,
own.
I understand. It shouldn't be happening at all. Just the idea of, well, they're doing it, so we should do it. Again, if someone jumps off a cliff, should you do it? No. You need to make decisions for yourself. And when you see something improper in government, we ought to discuss it like this. Unfortunately, Ms. Gossi, you did not answer my question. Do you guys happen to have the financial information available of how much money we are losing in taxes by giving them such a large discount?
We're not losing $1. And yes, it's in the packet.
Yes,
Okay.
in the packet, there is a handout that goes over the cost-benefit analysis of each taxing entity and proves how long it'll take to repay itself for giving the tax forgiveness for 10 years.
Okay. Assuming the company does what it's supposed to do. So it's kind of like gambling, right? That we think this is going to happen, but we don't know. Is this packet available to the citizens or just to the council?
Yes.
It was published on the internet on
Okay.
Friday.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Angela.
Okay. So,
Anybody have any questions?
Move
for
to
Angela?
close public comment. Move to close public hearing.
Did you have something to say, Angela? Sorry.
I did not.
Okay. I thought you had something
I didn't
to
have
say.
anything to add to your comments. I
Okay.
think you did a good explanation, so.
Looking for a second.
Second.
Truman.
Yes.
Garza. Goss.
Yes.
Bass.
Yes.
Magers.
Yes.
Item number 8A, ordinances and resolutions. Consider a resolution determining the advisability of issuing taxable industrial revenue bonds for the purpose of financing the acquisition, construction, expansion, renovation, furnishing, and equipment of a commercial facility, Sales Data, Inc.
I'll move to approve a resolution determining the advisability of issuing taxable industrial revenue bonds for the purpose of finance and the acquisition, construction, expansion, renovation, furnishing, and equipping of a commercial facility, Sales Data Incorporated, and authorize the mayor to
Second.
sign.
Sorry. Second.
Truman.
Yes.
Garza.
Yes.
Goss.
Yes.
Bass.
Yes.
Magers.
Yes.
Item number 8B, consider a resolution to set a public hearing on advisability of the Landmark Community Improvement District, CID.
Angela Richard, Director of Finance. Tonight, we are approving a resolution that will set the public hearing to advise whether we should allow Mayor Landmark LLC to issue a community improvement district within their building and their area. They will be here if we set the public hearing on March 3rd to talk more about their project and why this is a piece of the overall financing of that project. Tonight, we're just discussing whether to set the public hearing for March 3rd.
Council, have any questions on that?
Seems pretty straightforward.
Okay. If that's the case, looking for a motion.
I move to approve a resolution and set a public hearing on advisability of the Landmark Community Improvement District of March 3rd.
I'll second.
I'm sorry, and authorize the mayor to sign. Wait, sorry, I got the other one mixed up.
Truman.
Yes.
Garza.
Yes.
Goss.
Yes.
Bass.
Yes.
Magers.
Yes.
Item 8D, consider an ordinance authorizing issuance of GO bonds to pay for certain improvements, Golf Master Plan.
I think we skipped one, Mary. C.
I'm sorry. Consider resolution fixing a hearing date and time for unsafe structures.
Good evening, Council. Jason Lady, Building Official. Tonight, we're, in your packet, there's a staff report. So tonight, we're looking to set a hearing for 5 residential structures. You can see at 419 East Avenue F, 1526 East 2nd Avenue, 224 East 3rd Avenue, 213 East 8th Avenue, and 526 West Avenue A. These are all structures that are in severe disrepair or that we've considered as condemned. So tonight we are looking to approve a resolution to set a hearing for, let me flip my paper over, my apologies. For
like
April 7th. Yep, April 7th. So do you have any questions on these?
So have we contacted all of the property owners?
Yes, so all of these, in your packet under each one, you have photos of each one of these residents. Each one of these has had board ups. These have open property maintenance code violations. They've had nuisance abatements. They have no utilities. Taxes are delinquent. I mean, there's multiple things that are on all these. And what we've done is we've looked at the list of abandoned or structures that we have around town and kind of started with the worst of the worst in a sense when we look at the residential properties.
So just for clarification, how do we go about contacting each one of the property owners so we make sure they've been contacted correctly and have notification of this process?
So they get the PMCs first. Then once we get the property maintenance code violations out to them, the notice of violations, so there's an awareness there. Then we do an abatement. That's basically a follow-up. After that, we take and we send out a letter of condemnation once we board it up and then actually condemn it. We may send that out earlier in the process, depending on when that board up process is. So we could send that letter out really anytime. So that's the process for the condemnation process in a nutshell, kind of. But we also will take and make notifications. So if you all set the hearing here tonight for April 7th, we'll take that and we'll post that in the paper. Plus, we'll send each one of them a notification that there will be a hearing on April 7th.
And on these notifications you've sent, how many came back? Or did they all go where they were supposed to go?
I couldn't tell you on these.
I think two of the listed owners are deceased.
Yes, 2 of the listed owners are deceased. So there's been, obviously,
Okay.
there has been contact with one of the deceased members, family members. One lives in Colorado, one lives in the Kansas City area, and I've had contact with 2 of the individuals, but no one owns the property. I mean, the individual that owns the property
And to speak
deceased
to that
from
point,
76.
that's why you publish it in the newspaper for the 2-week period, is because you send the letters, and whether or not they come back returned or whatever status is really irrelevant because of the newspaper publication. So that's still following state statute. They're not required to respond or sign off that they actually got the letters.
And a lot of the times, if, I don't know if we did in this instance, but a lot of the times when we get those letter backs, we'll take it back to the office, we'll take it and post it on the property as well, because the code says we can physically go post it on the property. That doesn't mean anybody's ever going to come by and see it, but it's officially posted, and that's a way of notification.
Very good. I just don't want down the road somebody coming to me and saying, oh, I didn't know.
Yeah,
And,
and
you know, I think we need to follow the law and make an effort like you're doing. And
just to clarify, so our code enforcement, I mean, nobody's responded on any of these, and they're not trying, I mean, none of these have said, hey, we're gonna try to work on it, or we're beyond that point?
no, we've had no response from that anybody's going to work on any of these at this point. I mean, that 419 East Avenue F, you can see that the owner's deceased, and that's the one I've spoken with, to family members who would like to see. They've expressed concern for the structure, as well as they would like to see the house demolished. However, they would have to go through quite the process to get the property in their name to do the same. And then the rest of these, we have not had any response on to this point. The only individual that we have talked to was at 224 East 3rd Avenue, and we really haven't had any constant contact with that individual. And nothing's been done to the house itself.
And the alternative is, Darren, I think what you're kind of getting at here is, the process of or Darren and Greg, the process of somebody coming back and making a claim for adverse ownership is a 15-year process in the state of Kansas. So earlier this year, I sent an email to the League of Kansas Municipalities as well as our elected officials in Reno County and asked them to consider a modernization of that law. In some states, it's 5. In some states, it's 2 if you have the title. But this is a problem. I mean, one of these owners passed away like 6 years ago. So even if the family wanted to make a claim to that home, they still have to wait another 11 years while the property sits there and rots. And that's the case with not only these houses, but houses across Reno County in the state of Kansas. So this law, the same law that we used on the atrium demolition, gives us the right, and we were following all of the appropriate proceedings as required. And it's a tool given to us by the state of Kansas.
Any other questions?
No, sir.
Is there anybody in the audience that has questions about these properties? If not, I would be looking for a motion.
I move to approve a resolution fixing a hearing date and time for unsafe structures and authorize the mayor to sign date of April 7th for the hearing.
Second?
Truman.
Yes.
Garza.
Yeah.
Ross.
Yes.
Fast.
Yes.
Magers.
Yes.
Item number 8D, consider an ordinance authorizing issuance of go bonds to pay for certain improvements for golf master plan.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. So I just plan to touch a little bit on this, and I'm going to turn it over to Justin and Angela to talk more into the particulars. About the golf course master plan itself, that was approved by City Council way back in 2003. Funding for the golf course master plan then started in 2008. So every year since 2008, the city has been taking bites at the golf course and trying to make necessary improvements to any of the structures in the field itself. And that kind of leads us to present day with the project, or for the bond proposal in front of you all, that this project was actually included in prior year CIPs. So in 2022, it was for $270,000. In 2023, it was for $280,000, and then in 2024, it was for $290,000, for a total of $840,000. And admittedly, Justin and I, not this budget, but last budget cycle, we did talk about the golf course and the improvements that we're making out there, and whether this is the appropriate time to do these things, considering the budget issues that we're in. So if you recall from prior budget sessions, it was shared within the list of things that were cut or deferred, if you will, that the golf course master plan, the improvements for 26, that was cut, and those improvements would have actually have happened in 27. So I do want to share that we did talk about this. The reason why it didn't get shelved, just like the other one, is because that work hasn't been obligated yet, meaning no one has started the work. Whereas the work for this project, they're already underway. So it wasn't as easy to just nix that without looking at what could a breach of the contract or something like something like that, and what that entails. So I do want to share that for the record. I mean, this was contemplated. We did deliberate this. And Justin and I, obviously, we monitor social media, and we're also kind of attuned to the budget issues that we're in. Justin, we are prepared to kind of share with you something that could save money by going this route. So with that, I will turn it over to Justin to kind of fill in any of the gaps or answer any questions that you may have as well.
Good evening, Justin Combs, Director of Parks and Facilities. I just want to pause right there and see if we have any questions about the funding and about the project itself.
How far, so I was talking to Rico about this week. How far along in this project are we? Like, how much of the work has actually been done?
We're probably 70% done with the work that's under contract right now, which is the installation of the upgrade to the irrigation system, so a rip and replace of the irrigation system that's 60 years old, somewhere in that ballpark, and then the rough grading of the fairway greens and tee boxes.
Okay, so we've just got 30% left to finish it. When did this project start?
They started last week in December, first week in January, somewhere in that ballpark. Yeah.
Okay. That's all the questions I have for the moment.
And if, maybe I'm getting ahead of myself, if we don't fund this, what happens to the work that's out there? I mean, I drove by there, there's
Yeah.
dirt, is it gonna become weeds? What happens if we shut this down?
That's a great question. I mean, obviously, we have to have an operational golf course.
Right.
We can't have a 17-hole golf course, because right now the major impact is to hole 15. This project includes holes 15 and 16. So if we pull the plug today, I mean, obviously, we're gonna owe the contractor 70% of 330, I forget the exact amount for that contract that we have. And then internally, we're going to figure out how to piecemeal it back together. It's probably a temporary green. It's not great.
Which is also not free.
Not free. No, they'll still
That
be
solution costs money as well.
And I'll get to this in a minute, or maybe I can dive into it now. That's going to have a huge impact on revenue. The golf course in 2024, we operated at a 77% cost recovery. So we generated $847,000 in revenue, which is 77% of our cost. And so it would be a tremendous impact on that if we had to operate, a 17 and a half hole golf course for lack of better words. So one solution I do want to offer up is in the Orchard Park project several years ago, there was a project to build an enclosed rental building. It was in 2019, 2020, had a great design. Budget was $700,000. Designed a building. If you remember, the inflation just went crazy in 19 and 2021. That building ended up being a $1.4 million building when we bid it. We did some work to the design, tried to bring it back into scope. Rebid it was $1.1 million. At that point, City Council said no, we're not gonna proceed with that project. Some of those funds, so that project had already been bonded. We had $700,000 cash in a project account. Some of those funds were redirected to Fund Valley for the bleacher project that was completed in 22, somewhere in that ballpark. And so in the Orchard Park, we do have a project account with $428,000 just sitting there. As of right now, can only be used at Orchard Park, but through council approval, those funds could be redirected. So I would propose that we use those funds. In that we'd have to bring that back to council in 2 weeks. I think it would take a ordinance or resolution, one of those, to redirect those funds, and then we could then essentially eliminate or reduce the bonding amount that we're asking for by half. So bond, $450,000 in that ballpark, plus use the $428,000 we have available in that Orchard Park.
What's left to finish the project? Like, I know you got mounds of dirt and all that stuff. I mean, it's like, are we talking build greens? Are we talking irrigation?
Yeah.
Are we talking?
Yeah, so it's finished the irrigation. So cut in the greens. in the green complex, so the mounding around the greens. I don't remember the number of bunkers. There's at least one bunker, so cutting in the bunkers, building tee boxes. And then one of the major costs of the project is also purchasing the sod. We sawed the fairways, we sawed the greens, sawed the tee boxes. Another thing we'd have to do if we pulled the plug on this or significantly reduced the budget is we'd have to seed all of that. Then that's going to put us at least a year growing season before we can open that hole up. So again, we start looking at what does that do to our revenue long term. Trend-wise, we're doing really well at the golf course. In 2022, we generated $747,000, which is a 71% cost recovery. In 23, we generated $823,000, which is a 75% cost recovery. In 2024, we generated $846,000, which is a 77% cost recovery. So we are trending in the right direction. We are every year, in the same years, we reduce the amount of tax dollars or general fund dollars that we're going into the golf course. So we are trending in the right way, for sure. And I do think by pulling the plug on this or significantly reducing that scope, that trend gets reversed. And any savings that we see from pulling the plug or reducing the scope are going to get eaten up really quick through the revenue. The other part of this that's really important is the control system for the irrigation system right now operates on a computer that has to have Windows 10. Microsoft no longer supports Windows 10. We have a workaround. We're confident for the next few years, 2 years, 3 years, that we'll still be able to maintain control of our irrigation system. But at some point, we're going to have to upgrade. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that, or we will lose complete control of our irrigation system. The current cost for that upgrade is $100,000. That's part of this project, the $840,000. So that would be the other place we'd look to cut if we had to significantly reduce. However, that upgrade still has to happen. And so if we push that off 2 or 3 years, we know nothing gets cheaper over time. And so again, that savings is just going to continue to disappear. I use savings in quotes because, in my opinion, it's really not when you calculate that lost revenue plus the can we're kicking down the road.
Oh, so I know I'm familiar with Bermuda sod and seed and all that, and I know how trying to seed Bermuda is terrible.
Yep.
You might wind up reseeding it 2 or 3 times actually to get a good stand of it. Now, I know a lot of courses have actual, and I don't know how many square feet or yards of sod we're talking for install.
Yeah.
And then maybe you probably don't know the answer.
I don't have that off the top of my head.
But
no.
Do we have that type of turf on property that we could cut and fill, or do we not?
No, we have the bent grass for the greens.
Okay.
So we have a nursery green that we use for emergency repairs. We have enough that we could use our own sod. There is a consequence to doing that. We use that nursery green as a practice facility for some of our schools that use the golf course. And so they would no longer have that practice facility available, which means they're either on the same practice green as everybody else, and at that point we're just destroying that, or we simply tell our and it'd primarily be our middle school kids that they don't have a place to practice at Cary Park. So there's.
And then can we do, like, say the sod work that we have to do around that, which to me is like you have to do, if you're going to finish the project, you have to do it to protect the project you've already done. If not, you're going to lose the potential to rainfall or whatever. So can we do that, the sod part of it in-house?
We lay the sod in-house.
So you guys will do it?
Yeah, so the current contract does not include any sod. Okay. So we'll bid that separately and we buy it in giant rolls. It's all hands on deck and we lay the sod ourselves.
Okay.
He's volunteering to help out that day.
It's a lot of work. It's fun. Yeah, so seeing it go down in those huge rolls.
Earn your paycheck. I have a question for Angela about the bonding. So part of the reason why this is on the agenda today versus at a previous meeting is because we grouped it with other projects for bonding. So if we took the funding from the Orchard Park project and moved it to allow it for this, would diminishing the bond that goes out for bid by $428,000 reduce like the interested parties and make it get a higher interest rate, or would that impact?
So what happens is I individually take these ordinances authorizing it to be bonded as the projects come up. And I apologize, I probably should have brought this back in December or early January. But I sometimes like to group those in the same ordinances as well for other reasons. And so I would wait to bond this with other projects so that we have a larger bond sale. So it wouldn't necessarily affect that. And I don't have that timing down yet. We're still working on getting some of the 26 projects started.
That's great. I just wanted to make sure that transfer wouldn't make this bond project something that people didn't want to bid on. So
I don't believe it would.
Okay. And Paul, can you weigh in on the logistics of? No. Okay.
No, because we'd be contacting our bond counsel to make sure it's done properly.
The transfer of the funds, or
Switch from the GO bonds and also from the project from Orchard Park to the golf course.
okay.
We did that process prior, and it does take a ordinance or resolution. It depends, so I'd have to ask which it would be. And then it has to go to the Attorney General to get their approval too. So I've been through that process before with the same Orchard Park proceedings.
And does the Attorney General have like a specific amount of time that they have to reply within?
They do. So it would take a little bit of time before we could redirect those funds.
Thank you. Thanks, Paul.
I just want to go back to the mayor's question about sod versus seed. Not to nerd out on grass too much.
Oh, I'm all good.
So all of the most recent projects we've done out there, we've converted to zoysia instead of Bermuda, and so you have to sod zoysia.
Yeah,
absolutely. We have a lot less winter kill issues with zoysia than we do with the Bermuda grass.
So, and the reason we're having to approve this is because this is something that's been approved before. I'm just making things clear for everyone involved that it's because it was approved in a previous council's approval, and we're just getting to the project now.
Yeah, so the funding was approved in the 22 budget, 23 budget, and the 2024 budget. So 3 times it's been approved. This is just a formality of what's required by the state for the bonding.
And we don't have any other type of funding in any other accounts that we could use to help pay for this instead of having to bond it, the rest of it?
We don't. I mean, we have some small reserve funds, but those are kind of for emergencies.
No,
this was the only kind of big chunk that I know.
Well, I'm just trying to figure out how we can, not have to pay some more money on something we're doing. So that's all I was asking for.
So, are you recommending we kick the can down the road until we can get the funds where they need to be, bond less or bond the same amount, but with other projects that we will find that we're going to be bonding?
So
is that what you're suggesting?
So I would recommend that today we approve the ordinance for the bonding, but reduce the amount. We're not actually bonding it. We're just setting the maximum amount that we would bond at a future bond sale when Angela would group multiple projects together. So we're just setting the limit on what we could bond today. That also then gives us the authority to pay the contractor with the money that we will reimburse ourselves from once we sell the bonds. And so it'd be 2 pieces. It'd be approve the bond sale for a lower amount, $450,000 or $500,000 as a maximum amount, and then I guess officially give us a direction to look into transferring the funds from Orchard Park into this project, and that will have to come back for official action. That would give me the okay to keep the project rolling as originally designed.
So
it's still saving $428,000.
So the minimum amount would be $546,000 though.
Okay.
874 minus 428. Oh wait, no, I didn't do the math
Yeah,
wrong.
that math's not adding.
I haven't used a calculator. Minus 428. Yeah, 446. Okay.
And we could probably take off with the 100,000 for the And put a Band-Aid on the computer for 3 years or a couple years?
We can, but it's going to come back. And,
I
and it's
understand
going to
that.
come back at 120 or 130.
I think that, and to me, delaying that is really also an IT security risk, because if that computer is on the internet, it probably doesn't have good security software, because I can't imagine that they're still making patches for
They are
Windows 10. Yeah.
So to answer your question, yes, but
No,
it's going to come
I'm
back.
just asking questions.
Yeah.
Council, have any other questions? You have another comment, Mr.
No, the only thing I would add is, if we're able to proceed with this phase, all that leads us left is holes 10, 11, 12, which are the 3 holes that are off kind of by themselves. So the light is there. We can see the light at the end of the tunnel for this project that's been ongoing for 23 years. So.
And at that point, your master plan is complete, and
Yeah, and all the irrigation's all been completely updated. We've added some link to the golf course to meet some numbers that are important to high school and college players. We've done that plan that we shouldn't have to go back and make major improvements to the golf course for the rest of my career, if not, and probably quite a bit longer.
so just maintenance at that point.
At that point, yes. Yep.
Did you have a comment, Enrico?
No, Justin said.
I have a question for Justin when you're done.
Justin said what I was going to say is that, really we're a few years out from the finish line. And, I think theoretically one could ask, it's over a 20-year-old plan. Is this still what we want to do? But it's been living in the CIP since 2008 with relatively no issues ever propping up. Obviously, I understand why it is now. I totally get that, and a little bit of this was foreseeable, which is why a future year was delayed. I think really this is a message too in storytelling, and especially in getting with Charles with the Hutch Tribune to make sure this is appropriately covered, and to make sure every single minute detail is covered in there as to how we got here, what the plans are. So I did want to share that. I think we'll definitely get with Charles on making the story, or at least telling the full story. So, Justin, you're up.
Justin, my question would be, so you mentioned some of the money coming in from the golf course, the return on investment. If we were in a maintenance-only situation for the course, what would your dollars coming in versus going out look like?
Yeah, I think it's realistic for us to be 75 to 80%. I think getting north of 80%. I think we're going to have to increase fees to the point that it gets unplayable for certain players. But I think in that, that 80% is probably where we should be and can stay. There are courses that operate at 100%, but again, their fees, are what's dictating that. So I think for us to kind of walk that fine line of making sure we're still available to the vast majority of players. So.
What's our fees compared to like Sand Creek or?
Yeah, so we study those every year. We look at them every year. We look at increasing fees, whether it's a green fees, a membership fee, cart fees, those sorts of things. We are looking at a fairly significant increase in carts for this year. In the budget, we included carts that are GPS enabled, and so we can charge a premium for those like other courses. So we look at that every year. So I can't tell you off the top of my head, but I've got a spreadsheet that has 6 courses that are close by, and we look at those.
Because we want to keep those fees competitive to our neighbors, but not to where they're leaving town to go.
Yep.
Play golf other places.
Yeah, because we've got a lot of good public municipal golf courses around us.
Yeah, we do.
So it's a balancing.
And we changed our policy of bringing your own cart too, right?
We're in the process of that.
Okay.
Yep. As we phase those out, that'll be a big win for us too. Yep.
Okay.
Any other questions from council? No. Okay. I guess
I do have a question. So I'm just trying to, being the new guy here, how much is this going to cost us? I guess is what I'm trying to figure out. If we you said we have the 420,000 from the Orchard Park project.
Yeah.
How much more are we gonna have to come up? That's what I'm trying to sort out.
Yeah, so we would have to bond approximately $450,000, which is, in the budget, the approval was $840,000. We're essentially cutting that number in half of what was in the budget over from 22, 23, and 24.
So we've got about $250,000 worth left to complete the project. Is that about right then? You said about 30% left to finish.
30%, our contract with Hauska, who's our current contractor, is $380,000.
$380,000,
So
okay,
it's
sorry.
70%
My
of
math is
that.
off, too.
Yeah, because we haven't bid out the sod, the greens mix, so it's a very specific mix for the greens.
Right, okay.
And then the software update.
Okay. So we have to do something to pay for the 70% of the work that's been done.
Yes.
So we have to do something to actually take care of that part and then
Yeah.
complete the project.
Yep.
So, okay.
But would that 420 from Orchard Park cover that?
That would cover Hauska's contract, yes. And with the balance, we would piecemeal together so we could have some sort of playable hole. It would not be great. It would take us a year to grow that in because we would have to seed it instead of sod it. So then we're looking at significant lost revenue.
We would lose state and we would lose the college tournament right up, if we don't have 18 holes, they're not playing here.
Yeah, yeah. And by seeding that, we're going to seed it to a cool season grass. We can't seed to a warm season. So for the life of that hole, it's always going to be an eyesore in the summer. In the spring and fall, it's going to look different than everything else. So it'll always be inferior to everything else that we've done at the golf course since our first phase in 28 or in 08.
I know you can't tell us exactly how much would that loss of revenue be if we have a 17-hole course.
Yeah, so I thought about that a lot today. I would say in this current year or this upcoming year, we'd probably lose about 10%. So $80,000 to $90,000. I don't know that would, as that hole became open as an inferior hole that's short, that's cool season grass, I don't think we'd immediately go back up, but I don't think it's 10% every year. So we say 5% in after that. So just in that scenario alone, we're at 8-ish years before we get to that where we've lost so much revenue that eats up that potential savings. And that doesn't include the software update. So you include the software update, now we're at 6 years. Are we hitting that point where we've lost revenue plus that cost of that software update that we're no longer, quote unquote, saving money?
And the thing you got to be careful of is when we host those tournaments, if we lose those tournaments, then they could be gone for a while, correct? I mean, they could go somewhere else and go, hey, we
Find
like this
somewhere else.
better, and not
Yep.
go back.
And the Hutch invite and the state, which it rotates between what classes, I mean, those are bringing players in from all over the state. Those are, we'll have some local players, but, we'll get a lot of players from Kansas City Metro that are playing in those. So those are 2 or 3 night stays. One of our busiest days is the day before those tournaments because we have everybody wanting to practice on the golf course. So there's a lot of long-term revenue impacts. So I did pull some data from the golf course as far as visitation. 65% of our visits are coming from zip code 67501 and 502. So not all of that's within the city limits. So that means 35% of our play is coming from outside of those. So it is, it's an attractant to outside dollars coming in. So that's sales tax we're collecting when they pay their fee, hopefully when they're buying a hot dog and drinks, and then hopefully filling up their tank of gas as they leave. So.
Did that answer your question?
It does. I mean, I'm just having a hard time here. I mean, I understand. I want to fund this, but we're also talking about major budget cuts if our sales tax doesn't pass. And I think we need to look at. I wish I had a magic ball and could tell what March 3rd was going to bring, but I just I don't feel like we should spend more money right now, make a decision right now, until we know what the future holds.
Yeah,
You know, I mean, we have to answer to the citizens, and right now, I mean, now I know it's probably a small percentage, but there's a lot of people that are furious right now with what's going on. A lot of them are uneducated. I wish they would educate themselves better, but I just don't think right now is the time to spend any extra money on something that's not a necessity.
Yeah, Darren, I agree. When that popped up on our agenda, I started making phone calls going, okay, why are we approving something for a
Right.
golf course when we're trying to have all these other big issues going on? But now, you know, it's like a double-edged sword. We have to look at it and go, we're 70% complete. If we don't finish it, then what revenue stream is that going to cost us future-wise? Are we going to lose tournaments? I mean, I don't like being in the seat having to make the decision when I don't think we should be spending the money either. But I'm like going, okay, do we finish?
You know, I guess I look at it, if we didn't have any money to fall back on to pay our contractors when we were going to be in a bind, then I would say we need to at least vote on part of it. But I feel like if we can transfer the Orchard Park funds, get our contractors paid and, you know, see where we're at coming up here and, you know, make some more informed decisions, you know, a few months down the way. Honestly, I wish we could, and I don't know if we have to make a decision. I personally would like to table this until after we see what situation we're in after the sales tax election, and then look at what we can do then. If we, you know, if we look like we're going to be in better shape and aren't going to have to cut jobs and lots of other projects. This is my thought.
Okay.
Just in the timing of this right now, does finishing this project, if it's funded today, and then the resolution to transfer the funds at the next meeting, if that happens as proposed, does this get the holes 15 and 16 completed and open for the spring playing season?
yes.
And we've already committed to hosting
Lots of
state and college tournaments. So not only are we then going to say, hey, sorry, we can't host these tournaments, and they have to find somewhere else to go, but all of the hotel stays that have been probably pre-booked.
Yeah.
I mean, there is a trickle down, like there's a trickle down effect from a cascade effect. Let me say.
Yeah, we have a very
not finishing
tight-
this.
Yeah, sorry not to cut
You're
you off. We have a very narrow construction window for this, so that we can get it done where we're early enough in the year that we're not impacting play, but can still have the course ready for our big tournaments, and then not starting it so early in the fall that we're impacting play then. So it's how we've done every phase is in this window for that exact reason, to not be disruptive to normal play, to tournaments play, and so we have a good growing season to get everything grown in. So.
And to be clear, you guys greenlighting and beginning this project a few months back with funds that have been put into the budget for the past 3 years is in no way a reflection of some kind of oversight that we're now in a shortfall because of the hiring and the cost of everything going up. Like, I feel like you guys have done everything possible to save money and, I don't know, reduce the financial impact of this. I mean, even considering to take the funds from the Orchard Park and transfer them to this, I think that's a very creative idea, and that gets us a long way with this project, more than or halfway, almost halfway.
What is the total budget out there?
Total budget's a little over $1 million, 1.1, 1.2, somewhere in that ballpark.
So we're subsidizing $330,000 every year.
So in 2024, we subsidized $248,000
Okay.
out there.
Well, I should have just asked the question.
Yeah, I've got it all right here.
But that's always been true.
Yeah.
No, I understand, and, you know, the fact that it's partially subsidized by the public is good, way ahead of Rice Park or other parks, probably. What and I know maybe this isn't appropriate to talk about this now, but what if we offload that? Let the private folks take care of that. Get that off of our radar. What does that look like?
Yeah, it's been done. Other communities have privatized public golf courses. Usually the result is not good. The fees increase. Most of those clubs operate on a business model that it's a membership first, because they're just like a health club. They're going to make their money by you being a member and then not using the facility. And so that's kind of their business model. And so the course itself generally goes downhill, and then they really push food and alcohol themselves, and then sometimes they'll bring in other things into the clubhouse that will encourage people to use the clubhouse. That's a broad brush. Maybe we can get in more detail with that. But
I understand.
I think the long-term result for our players and for our community, I don't think anybody would be happy with that. I think the conditions would suffer.
And you can look to, so saying that reminded me, it's happened, and we can look back as recently as 2019. Clapp Golf Course in Wichita, the city sold it to an investor, and then I don't know how long it took, but they decided it was too expensive to keep up as a golf course, and they turned it into green space, and I believe part of it was parceled off for housing. I mean, it's a municipal golf course, and it always has been. I would wonder if we would be getting into an area of not using the property for its intended purpose, because wasn't Cary Park donated to the city?
Yeah, I don't think
so. We can't sell it.
The city doesn't have fee simple title to that real estate in Cary Park. It was given to us as long as the city uses it as a park. So you could get a management company to come in and run the golf course, but you can't sell it to anyone.
I'm just looking for efficiencies. I think that's what we're all trying to accomplish here.
So can we, I don't want to say table, I mean, can we push this off for what's your timeline, I guess, on actually, I know you have a timeline with Window because of planning stuff, et cetera. What's your, like, this is the last day I could have this to get it done?
I mean, to be honest, I think we need to come to some sort of resolution today, since we have a contractor, and we owe money to that.
And I'm saying the
contractor.
resolution would be to pull the Orchard Fund money to get that guy paid for, and then figure out, like Darren was saying, to make sure we're making the right decision on the rest of it. I'm just trying to be.
If you were this contractor, you both own your own companies. If you were this contractor and you've already spent $280,000 worth of parts and labor and equipment and time in all of this, and the city council tables for 2 weeks to think about it more, you're probably going to stop work tomorrow.
I'm a contractor. This project's been going since December.
Right, but you're
So
probably going to...
I'm not even getting much payment yet. So I'm fine with if they say, hey, let's push this off, so I know I'm getting my money.
But you don't know that, you don't actually know that they're going to get their money.
Park.
No, not all of it.
Well, the majority is going to pay for their contract, correct?
If I were that business owner, I wouldn't have a lot of confidence in that, and it would be hard
I do it every
to
day, so.
continue work.
The tricky thing about using the Orchard Park money to make the contractor whole present day, I believe the window of time that the AG has to respond is 60 days. So then that's 2 months where the contractor's not getting paid. So that's not helping, but you guys need to know as you make your decision, so.
So by passing the resolution for the bonding to not exceed, gives us the authority then to pay the contractor. I'm looking at Angela to make sure I'm not misspeaking. To pay the contractor with funds that we will reimburse ourselves with once we sell the bonds. And so again, setting that limit at $450,000, $500,000 maximum gives us the authority to go ahead and proceed with paying the contractor. And then could take the other 60 days for the
Because
other piece.
we'd pay the contractor out of authorizing that, but the 400,000 would come back to reimburse us on that backside if we move the money from Orchard Park. I'm not sure I understand how that Orchard Park money plays into this equation. I'm just trying to get clarity.
Yeah, like, we couldn't take that Orchard Park money and pay the contractor right now. We would have to wait that 60 days. So I think what Justin's proposing is we pass the ordinance tonight with some allowance so that we can pay the vendor now before that 60 days. So whether that be, 300,000, 500,000, I think that's something you have to decide, but that at least would let us get the vendor paid sooner.
Then I think that's probably the route we need to go, is to get
Yeah,
that.
this isn't the vendor's problem, this is our
Yeah.
problem.
I agree with that. I mean, we need to pay our bills, and they did the work, and we told them, we hired them to do the work, so. How much would we have to make a motion on to get the contractor paid? I mean, do we have to have a little extra there for?
So our current contract is $338,630. There is bonding fees in that, so I would recommend, I'll let
So if
Angela
we went,
recommend that.
if we made a motion to go up to 400,000, that would,
And remember, you're setting the max here. So if you set it higher, but, give us instructions to do what we can to reduce that, we could do that as well.
what would your recommendation be on the amount?
I think that depends on whether you want the irrigation or not. But I would say you probably want to do the 338,000 plus about 30,000 in bonding costs so that we can get the vendor paid at least.
Okay, so we're gonna take that down from 800 and some thousand to
368.
375 max.
But like you said, we could just make it an even 400,000, and if you can do it for less than that,
That's max, and
then 400's the max, we get them paid, and then if we use the Orchard Fund, once we get that, that would be more than enough to reimburse that.
Yeah, that'd
So-
be enough to get us a really good product. We're limiting how much we're bonding, and give us time to pay the contractor and then work out the Orchard Park piece.
And that amount would delay the irrigation project by at least another year.
We'd be really close.
but the irrigation is working.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, yeah. With a limit of 400,000, if we're able to push right to that, we might be able to make that. We'll have to go back and look at all the line items for the project. Can we skimp on some sod here and there, those sorts of things.
What did you say the Orchard Park was, 420?
428.
Could we just make it for 428? I mean, that's money we already have, correct?
Correct.
So that's not any new spending, and then that would give you, I guess I'm not sure if that's appropriate how we do that, but I'm just thinking if we have that money already in the bank, that gives them a little extra, we get done what we need to, so we can keep our obligations. I mean, you'd still be able to have the tournaments and stuff then with that,
Yes.
and then down the road, if we, I am so,
Because we will have to come back with an actual bonding amount when it comes time to actually sell the bonds. So we'll have an exact amount at that point. And it'll be packaged with multiple others. So that number could be, if we say 428 or 375, whatever, that number could come in less than that. All we're doing is
The
setting that
motion will be
maximum.
not to exceed 428,000 in my mind.
Sounds like a good compromise.
Any
Yeah,
questions?
and
Steve?
I mean, because we're not doing any new spending. It's money we already have. I mean, yeah, I wish we didn't have to spend it,
The work's been done.
but the work's been done, we've got to pay the people, and if that's going to help us get the golf course up to par, and pardon the pun, but get us up to where we need to be, and so we can fulfill our obligations on the tournaments and stuff, I think.
For public comment. You should.
All right, I think that's some good deliberation there.
Is there anybody?
Well, is there anybody in the audience like to comment on this item? If you're done, Justin, sorry, make sure you're good.
I'm good.
If you do, just please limit your remarks to 5 minutes. State your name and address.
Hi, Katie Link again, 3506 North Lorraine. I am a citizen here just trying to get educated on everything going on, so I do have some questions. Okay, so when you said 75 to 80% of revenue, does that mean that it's currently losing 20 to 25%? Is that what that means?
That's correct.
Okay, so even before it was losing money, so we're putting money into something that possibly will actively be losing money? Okay, just to clarify on that. The 60-day, was that a minimum or a maximum?
That's a maximum set by state law.
So it could potentially go faster than that? Okay.
It doesn't usually.
Okay. Okay, and I thank you guys for your time. I do want to say, it sounds like maybe we got a little bit of a champagne taste on a beer budget, as they say, as far as like the name of the sod is so fancy, I couldn't even pronounce it, and GPS. Putting something, all those things into the golf course in Hutchinson, Kansas, some of those line items might need to be reevaluated for whether or not we're going to make that kind of money. So especially if we're already losing money on this golf course, and then we're going to put some more money into that money pit without the potential, or with the potential of continuing to lose money. So, and then one more comment, have you considered, asking the public for contributions? So like at playgrounds sometimes, you could buy a brick or something and have it on there. Have you considered any outside fundraising other than just the city doing it? And that way the community is involved and they care, and it's our golf course, not something the government just made us do because they wanted to look good with the other cities around. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
So I want to speak to one point, which is that the city loses money on the zoo, we lose money on roads, we lose money on the airport, we lose money on the golf course, we lose money on parks. The city is not in it to make money. We are not a for-profit business. So to say that we are subsidizing the golf course by $270,000 a year, every single municipality in the state of Kansas is probably subsidizing that, if not more. So I think a 70% subsidy rate for a golf course, I would imagine, is a pretty darn good rate. It's a municipal service. It is for the public good. We don't have a golf course to make money. We don't have the zoo to make money. We literally lose money on these things because we are not a for-profit business. So our balance at the end of the year looks very different than a for-profit business. They are absolutely not comparable. The reserves that we're required to keep by state statute are very different than a home budget or a business's budget. They are just totally different accounting mechanisms. So I am glad people are curious, but there's no way we're going to have a profitable golf course. It doesn't exist in a municipal setting.
Just to comment on that, since our city is having budget issues and then we're failing at these things and actively losing money, perhaps the government should pull out of those businesses that they shouldn't have their hands in to begin with, and then you wouldn't have to worry about losing that money and coming up with all the money for the budget.
They are not businesses, they are services.
The zoo is a service?
Let me ask you
Yes.
this, ma'am. Let me ask you this.
Yes,
I
sir.
was talking to a friend the other day, and we were talking about the golf course losing money. But how much does that contribute to quality of life? Now, I'm not a golfer, never played around the golf, so personally, I would probably say I could care less if we lost money, but I like the zoo. I take my granddaughter to the zoo. We lose money on that, but that's quality of life. If we as a city, and I know I don't like spending more taxpayer money than the other person, but sometimes you have to spend tax dollars to make the quality of life better for our community. You know, I mean, and you got to ask yourself, how much, what is too much and what's not enough?
So on that line, I enjoy fast food. I like taking a night off, doing pizza movie night on Fridays. That's a service to me, but I pay for it. Right. So the zoo is not necessary. We could pay for it. So I'm just saying the government biblically should not be in those kinds of things. And I think if we went back to those biblical standards, we'd have less trouble with our money and with all the problems we seem to have.
There are no biblical standards to go back to. This is the government.
There are actually biblical standards in the government about protecting its citizens.
Which we do.
Doing defense.
We do a great job of
the
that.
Bible never says anything about providing zoos or golf courses. Although that's really fun.
Bible
and it looks
doesn't say a lot of
great on
stuff
our
about a lot of
commercials.
stuff.
However, a golf course is not a necessity for the citizens.
We could sell our parks. We could close the zoo. We could close the airport. Those are great ideas. Those would save us money too.
All right, does anybody else have a comment?
I do. Katie, it's taken me 4 years up here in my seat to not run everything through my business mind. It is hard. I hear you, I understand. We do provide services, and that's what we do. We provide police, fire, roads, and your point's well taken. Should we provide a golf course and a zoo? I don't know. That's all I got.
Thank you. Any other public comments? All right, if none, I'm looking for a motion.
I move to approve an ordinance authorizing issuance of GO bonds to pay for certain improvements, golf master plan, and authorize the mayor to sign not to exceed $428,000. Is that
Yes.
verbiage work?
I'll second.
Truon,
Yes.
Garza.
Yes.
Goss,
Yes.
Bass,
Yes.
Mayor.
Yes.
Item 9, new business. A, inoperable vehicle discussion.
Well, good evening again, Council. Jason Lady, Building Official. I don't really have anything prepared tonight for this inoperable vehicle discussion, but my understanding is that we would like to have a discussion as staff prepares to review the inoperable code. And so my question to you as a council is what priorities, what kind of clarifications are you looking for when we as staff go back and review the code? And we're going to be reviewing that code over the next few months. I would say probably bring that back to council sometime in April is probably when I'd be looking to bring that back to council for review and approval.
It's the only question, you and I talked one time, and you made a comment that there was maybe an issue with somebody has it in a backyard, and then when you guys give them a violation, they move it to the street, and then you gotta start all over. Is that something you think we need to fix, or is that when we just call the police department and have them tow it? Or
Yeah, I mean, when it gets out
do you
in
need
the,
something in your, where if you've already had a case and they move it to the street, you can still remove the vehicle because it's already been an issue?
yeah, so those fall under different areas, really. I mean, the property maintenance falls under us, where anything within the right-of-way would fall under the police department. So, I mean, unless we were to revise the code to the point where we would be allowed to deal with things outside the property line and deal with things in the street, as far as, those vehicles that are inoperable or those vehicles that aren't tagged properly or things of that instance, then yes, we could do that because it wouldn't matter where they moved it. However, there's also instances where the vehicle, the property maintenance follows a property, not necessarily the piece of property that they're moving around. So it doesn't follow the vehicle, right? It follows the property. So they move it from a house to a business property to over here, and we constantly have to start over. A lot of these times we end up catching vehicles just by the fact that they move it to the property that we already have an abatement order on. So then we execute that abatement order and we get to take the vehicle at no cause of what property it's on.
This may be a poll question, but once you start a case on a certain vehicle, statutorily, could we make an ordinance where no matter where they take that, if it's in violation, you don't have to start a new case? Or has it got to be a new case every time?
Depends on what the case was for.
I mean, like, I'm talking for like a dead disabled car in a backyard.
Well, the problem that you're going to have with it, it's about where it's located. And when the circumstances change,
Then
you have to adjust to
You'd
that.
have to start.
Because if it's in the backyard, it's property maintenance. If it's on the street, it's a parking violation, which goes to HPD.
Right. But
And
what
if
I'm
it's in the
asking
salvage
is-
yard, it's no violation at all.
Right.
But it's illegal to have an unregistered, uninsured vehicle parked on the street, period. So,
And in those cases too, it doesn't necessarily mean that they move it to a property that is legally theirs. It may be a friend's property, it may be, someone else's property, so I can't go
And that's just what I
execute
was
that
trying
on
to-
someone else's property when we haven't,
Sort out if the
Yeah.
case could follow the car, but I understand what you're saying, that if it goes to a different location and so.
and if it doesn't have tags on it and we can't see the VIN because of the location of the vehicle, then you're getting into a gray area of tracking that vehicle also. A lot of cars look alike. I think the only solution is that if it is unregistered, uninsured, but parked on an improved surface, it has to be covered according to our current. If it's covered, does it
yes,
have
it
to
could be
be?
covered for 6 months. That's
Okay.
that's the length of the term that it can be covered. And then it has to be resolved.
Okay. But it can be uninsured and untagged during that period and inoperable,
Covered, yes,
as long as it's parked on an improved surface.
as long as it's parked on an improved surface.
Not in a street.
Yes.
Or easement or right of way or alley or.
Yes.
Okay. Well, I was excited to have this back. This was something that I had asked for a couple months ago. I know you guys were just pretty busy with all of the blight situations that we'd been tackling. So I'm glad this is coming up. For me, and I don't know that it's necessarily a change to the ordinance so much as a change to our process, because currently when an inoperable vehicle, by any one of the definitions, is investigated, it seems like the solution for a lot of people is that they just park their vehicles so that the tags are not visible, which would not show registration, which would mean that we can't check for insurance coverage. So is there something in between that would help you guys with the investigation, like sending a letter saying that they have to come in and prove that the vehicle is tagged, or they have to submit through a portal or something that it's tagged and insured?
Yeah, really, in those cases, we look at the condition of the vehicle. We don't necessarily look at whether it's tagged, it's insured, anything of that nature. What we do look at is tagged and insured if it's street facing and we see that it's not tagged properly, then we can contact the owner, send a notice of violation. Even if they do turn the cart around at that point, we already have a notice of violation that's out, so we can continue the case no matter what. But I don't know, if us as staff want to get into the fact of tracking insurance and tags and everything else that an entity, that a government entity already tracks. Because do we want to track everybody's tags and insurance to know that every citizen of Hutchinson, Kansas is tagged and insured? I think that's a lot of manpower and a lot of
That's what
effort
my
on
next
staff's
question is.
part.
How much is all this going to cost us? We're sitting here trying to ask the public for things. And
Well, I don't think it costs us anything extra. Besides time and manpower, I don't think there'd be any added manpower to the current state. There would probably need to be an added manpower to, we've already expanded our code compliance department this last year with one individual, and that work and the kind of the progressive work that we've done already, I think we've shown that was much needed. But you add something like that to it too. Now you're tracking a lot more, because otherwise we would have to pull back from some of the progressive work that we've done to fulfill this other area, So I think it would take away from some of the other conditions that we're really looking at in the city, which is, that is much needed to look at when you talk about blight, when you talk about things of that nature. So.
And I guess I don't see this as a tool that would be on its own, that would be enforced necessarily on its own, but in conjunction with the other items. Because if a vehicle is, so example that you gave was if enforcement staff would see that the vehicle was not tagged and insured, and then the person reparks it so that it couldn't be checked. But they're inoperable vehicles who don't look inoperable, but they don't move, and they're parked with their tags to the back, or what would be their tags to the back. And, I mean, at that point, there is no enforcement, right? I mean,
Sure, there is no enforcement at
Currently.
that point because we
Right.
can't see the.
we can't see anything.
We can't see whether the tags are current
And as
or
long
not.
as it doesn't look inoperable,
Yes.
that's why I think that there's I don't know, some kind of middle step.
But I think from a code compliance perspective, that's what we're looking at, is the feel and the look of the neighborhood. Is the vehicle look inoperable? I mean, yes, it's out of compliance with whatever is required for registering and insuring a vehicle. But at the same time, it still has a nice look to the neighborhood. It's not doing anything to take away from the look of the neighborhood. It's not causing any real issues. It's not, so I
Wouldn't
think
that
that's
be in
kind of
the
the
eye
way
of
that,
the beholder? If somebody puts in a complaint about one, then obviously somebody feels like that particular vehicle doesn't
sure,
adhere to
I mean,
the
but that's
community
any case. I mean,
standards.
we have
Yeah.
to go out and look at it realistically and see whether it meets or violates current codes. And I mean, if it is in the eye of the beholder, but I mean, there's complaints that we get out there on a pretty regular basis that are neighbor-to-neighbor disputes.
Of course.
And we have to be that judge to see whether it's a legitimate complaint or not, And I think that's where we look at that aspect from kind of that neighborhood, I don't know, lack of better terms, beautification, and looking at it to see whether it looks like it's an inoperable vehicle or not. If the tires are flat, if it's up on blocks, if there's parts laying around, if there's, things of that nature, obviously an inoperable vehicle because it can't run, it can't move. And by definition, I mean, that's what it is. It can't run and can't move, and maybe it can't run and can't move, but it's on the improved surface and it looks nice. So how are we to determine whether it can't run or can't move? How are we to determine that it's in license, out of license?
So
I think maybe that's, just maybe in those conditions, maybe that is something we could take a look at in the code and say, if there's a complaint and neighbor says it's inoperable and it hasn't moved for so long, maybe there is something we could place in the code. We could look at other jurisdictions and see if there is anything that they have in their codes to say, hey, maybe we make the individual prove that it's not inoperable at that point.
Yes.
So
And
maybe there's something we could look at in there.
And
that's
so
good.
I think a couple of things come to mind. So a question of how do you track like parking for an exempt trailer that doesn't have to be tagged or registered? Like, can they be parked on the street unhitched?
Yeah, as long as it's not parked in, I mean, if it's parked on the street, again, PD.
If a trailer's
and
not
we
hooked to a
don't-
vehicle, it is illegal, but that would be under your STOs.
But that,
Okay.
yes, yep.
So a trailer that's parked in a driveway on blocks, because most people put them on blocks, keep them from rolling, but yet it's not like its own thing, like you have to have it hooked to something for it to work. So as a standalone unhitched trailer, would an unhitched trailer be an inoperable vehicle?
It's not a motor vehicle.
No, it's not a motor vehicle,
Doesn't
so
fall
we
under
wouldn't
the-
consider it, it
doesn't
wouldn't
fall
fall
under
under
the
the standard
description.
of an inoperable vehicle, yeah. It wouldn't fit
I
the
mean,
description.
personally,
What about
I
a
mean,
fifth
we've
wheel?
had this same ordinance. I mean, I've lived here 25, 26 years now, and it's worked. I don't know why we're even looking into it so much. I mean, it's worked over and over. I've been involved in these issues, and Lord knows I've towed many cars off the street for dead and disabled. So I mean, if you find something that you think should be brought to us, I'd say bring it to our attention, but I think our ordinance is fine the way it is.
Yeah, and we're reviewing other ordinances right now, so
And
we
the other
haven't got
thing
to
I'm
the
concerned
inoperable
about is I don't want
vehicles
to
at
go
this
too
time.
far and start violating constitutional rights, search and seizure, and
Yeah, and that's.
I mean, we sure don't want to violate somebody's constitutional rights over a car.
Yeah, I mean, when we speak with residents, one of the questions is, well, why can't you go up? It's parked in the driveway. Why can't you go up and just look at it? Well, from my perspective, when we talk about constitutional rights, when we walk onto an individual's property, our process is to any normal way that the public would take up to the house. If you were just to come up and knock on someone's door, if you're selling something, walking around the neighborhood selling candy bars, whatever it is. And that's any normal route that any individual would take to get up to the front door. So if we park our truck in the street, we get out, we walk up the driveway, we turn, we walk up their sidewalk to the front door, do our thing, post something, knock to talk to an individual, whatever. That's our normal route. So anytime that we go anywhere else on the property, that's breaking their rights at that point.
I would like to point out that a trailer does fall under the definition of a vehicle under our ordinance.
Well, then that may need to be looked at because it's not a definition of a motor vehicle.
It's not, I mean, you could take a motor out of a car and say it's not a motor vehicle probably then, but a parts car is also defined. Like it's inoperable means that it's junk, totaled, dismantled, discarded, abandoned or unable to perform the functions or the purpose that it was originally constructed. So that's.
I mean, we've had trailers that have been dismantled that we've removed from properties because at that point but we don't consider that under the inoperable vehicle. We don't really consider that under Chapter 12. We consider that under the PMC.
Mm-hmm.
So, because they're not really a motor vehicle, but they are not in the condition they were originally meant to be in. So, we consider those under the PMC. We don't use Chapter 12. So if it's just a vehicle, I mean, just a trailer sitting in someone's driveway that's, chalked up or something with blocks or something like that, I mean, as long as it's in usable condition, we wouldn't consider it.
If it had flat tires and hasn't moved within 30 days, would it be
Then we would
considered
start
nuisance?
considering it, yes. But not necessarily under Chapter 12.
Right.
Yes.
Any more questions for Jason? I think you have the next item too, don't you?
I do. So we could just move straight into that. There's no more questions. I think that's going to pop up on the screen,
Hit space bar.
maybe.
The C team's back in there, I've been told.
Oh.
His words, not mine.
I got Third Street.
Third
Thank you,
Street.
sir. So this next discussion is efforts towards blight discussion, and this is some of our blight remediation initiatives, also with a few updates and a few things we've been talking about as of late when it comes to blight. Maybe. All right, so up on the screen right now, we got a demolition grant program that we've established. This isn't active for public use yet, so we haven't had anything come in on this. We haven't put it out on the website yet, so we're still putting a few things together. We just finished up all the documentation for it. We just finished up the application. I do have another waiver form that I have to establish, so that's going to take me a little bit of time, but I'm looking to get this out by the beginning of March up on the website, and hopefully see if this will be a feasible alternative to some of our blight remediation out there. So this is what we call our structural to soil initiative. So how does it work? So the demolition grant program is a City of Hutchinson initiative to provide financial assistance to a property owner associated with demolition costs of dilapidated structures in the city. This initiative is designed to spur development investment within the local community and the removal of dilapidated structures is essential to improving not only life safety, but appearance and the future enhancement of our community. So who's eligible for this program? Everyone. There's not going to be a defined target area within the community. There's not going to be a defined target income level within the community, so anybody is available to use this program. The application process. So the application process for this, they'll be online once we get the website up for this on our city website. And then they'll also be available here at City Hall through the Building and Neighborhood Services Department. An application must be 2 competing bids for review for a licensed demolition contractor. So it has to be a licensed demolition contractor for the work. There needs to be 2 competitive bids, and then the property owner is required to submit as the applicant. Now, I would say that under those 2 competing bids, I may have it later in the slideshow or in the presentation, but under those 2 competing bids, they can use the city's demolition contract as one of those competing bids. So if they were to request from us, hey, can you contact the city demolition contract that you have for your normal demolition process and your condemnation process, then we would reach out to our contractor and say, hey, we've been asked to reach out to you for a competing bid for the demolition of this house at this property. And they can go take a look at it, and they can put a bid in for it as well. So they technically only have to submit 1 bid and can request of us to offer out another competing bid. The building official at that point, so Building and Neighborhood Services would have a staff review, and it does need to meet the definition of condemnable. So it has to be something that's condemnable. Somebody can't just come to us and say, hey, I got this house, I want to demo it, I want to build something new here. Well, we're not going to spend money on a completely viable house that somebody can go live in today, right? So it has to be a condemnable status. So at that point, the property owner would get with myself and my staff, and we'd go out on site, we would take a look at it, we would see if it's of condemnable nature as in accordance with the code, and if it is, we would submit to the Housing Commission for review, and then under the Housing Commission review, they would either approve, reject, or suspend the application. And by, of course, approving it, we'd send a notice saying, hey, you've been approved for this money, these funds. If they reject it, we send a notice too, explaining why the denial, and if more information was needed or whatever the case may be. And they could suspend the application too. They could basically just table it and say, hey, let's request more information from this, and from this property owner, we get the more information and we bring it back to the Housing Commission without actually approving or rejecting it. So we can table those things, or they can table those things. So what's the financing look like? So there's 2 options. Well, first of all, there's residential and commercial, but under the residential, there's a 100% option. And under the 100% option, this is where we look at properties where maybe somebody doesn't have a viable source of income to do it themselves. Maybe they can't even maintain the property. Maybe they're just looking to get rid of the property, but they don't even have a way to tear down the house that's on the property, and they don't even know what they're going to do with it. So they would come to us, they would talk to us, and there's a possibility here of getting a 100% option to fund the complete demolition, and then the owner would transfer the property over to the city land bank. And that's a pretty simple process from my understanding. So, and then there's the 50-50 option. So under the 50-50 option, the owner retains the property, providing there's plans for some type of revitalization. So when they come in for the 50-50 option, they would present us with some plans too that we would take to the Housing Commission, and they say, hey, I would like some help to demo my property. This is my plans to rebuild on the property. This is what it's going to look like after the fact. And we're talking about putting some type of time frame in there, so there isn't just, so we haven't finalized that quite yet, but we're talking about putting some type of time frame in there, so we don't just use that 50-50 option and then they don't build anything on the property. And then there's the I doubled up that 100% option there, obviously. But then there's a commercial option, and under that commercial option, there's 10% of the cost up to $25,000. So if they wanted to come in and say, hey, I have this commercial property, I want to demo this, sure, we'll loan, but the max that we're going to put out there for a grant is $25,000. We don't want to get into the business, I don't think, of funding individuals' commercial property demolitions. So some owner responsibility, there's a little bit more to this, but I just wanted to hit the main points here. Some of the owner responsibilities, so there's access to pre-bid and pre-demolition inspections. They have to allow access onto the property, not only for the contractors to kind of come pre-bid it, but then for us to come out and take a look at it, see whether it's in condemnable status. And so there is some inspections that we want to take a look at beforehand. Are they current on tax obligations, and are they free and clear of any liens? We got to make sure there's nobody living in the house. We got to clear a few other things. There's some title and deed stuff that we got to go through. And then free of or ineligible, or yes, ineligible for any insurance funds. So we want to make sure there's no insurance funds out there, say in the event of a natural disaster or a fire that happens, and they come to the city and say, hey, I want to apply for this program. Now we go demo a house when they had insurance funds available to demo the house themselves in the first place. So we want to vet all those things before we go using any of this money.
Can I ask a question on that slide?
Yes.
So we would check that they are current on taxes and there's no liens, and maybe you'll get to this in a different slide, so I apologize. Would we not, if they're doing the 50-50 option or the 100% paying on their own, or not that, what, 50-50, sorry.
The 50-50 is where they're going to revitalize
Yes.
property
Would we
themselves, yeah.
require any sort of bonding or surety of that they would pay their demo contractor?
So the demo, the payment to the demo contractor comes directly from the city. So after the project is complete, the demo contractor would be the one to invoice the city and not the property owner. So there is no change of money between the city and the property owner themselves. So once this goes through, then the demo contractor would send the itemized bill to the city, and we would pay out through our demolition funds.
And we would, but then they would pay for their part.
And they would have to pay for their part. That's between them, and I mean, that's a civil issue between, in my mind, I think that's a civil issue between the property owner and the contractor at that point.
But we wouldn't require any proof that they have those funds?
No.
Or surety bond, okay.
No.
So to add to that, what guarantee do we have that they would go ahead and revitalize it? I mean, maybe and I know this is new, but.
Sure, yeah.
You know, I mean, it seems like to me, and kind of what Ms. Goss was saying was, yeah, we make sure they get it demoed, but
Yep.
now we're splitting it 50-50 with the intent that, you know, I mean, I think that's something we need to look at, that there's got to be.
Well, and that contractor would be able to then place a lien on the property.
Well,
Yep.
well, I'm not saying that, I'm saying, so they pay their demo contractor, and then now we have just a lot there, but we've split it 50-50 with them with the intent that they were gonna
Yeah.
revitalize it. I feel like we need to figure out some way to have a guarantee.
I think from the city's perspective, I think at that point, they don't pay, if they pay their contractor, that's fine. And then if they don't revitalize, you know, the city footed 50% of the bill for that demolition contract. But at the same time, we have a property that's free and clear that also no longer has a blighted structure on it, is no longer presenting a safety hazard in the community.
That's the
And-
part
and
that
at
I
that-
would go back to, is to be even qualified for this, that the property has to be.
Yeah.
Like-
And that
Yeah.
makes sense, but I just
Yeah,
wanna
we're
make sure
fun-
we're not being taken advantage of by, okay,
No,
yeah,
I-
I'm gonna
Well,
revitalize it.
We're
And there
funding
is-
the demo, not the revitalization,
But
so.
we're funding more of the, we're doing half of it with the intent that they're going to revitalize it.
Yeah, the
And
hope is
then-
that they will revitalize within a certain time frame, and that's where we're talking about putting a time frame in there. And maybe if they don't, maybe we put something in there that if they don't revitalize the property within a certain amount of a time frame, then maybe we put a lien against the property.
And that's what I'm getting at. I know this
Yeah.
is all new and you're
Sure.
working through it. I appreciate that. Just something I thought, how do we guarantee that,
Yeah.
you know?
And that may be a way to guarantee it. Maybe the city puts the lien against the property if in the same course of action that the contractor has that, hey, you said you were going to revitalize within 2 years and you haven't done anything to the property, so that demo money that we gave you is now being held against your property. And we'll have to figure out that process, but yeah, that's a good point, yeah. So, and then the question is, do I need a contractor? So a licensed demolition contractor is required for all demolition in the city. So demolition permit is required prior to any demolition work, and then the cost of the demolition will be invoiced to the city by the contractor and paid directly to the contractor. So there's no exchange of funds between the property owner and the city. So that's the end of that. Do you have any questions on the, what we would consider the demolition grant?
Just to be clear, where did this money come from?
So, that's a good point. So, we have money in the budget that is unbonded. So it's non-bonded funds that we have in the budget already. So this is money that's in the 2026 budget. So on our program, we've put that the city reserves the right basically to change this program at any time, and that also this program is subject to funding. So we've established about $100,000 towards this program right now. And really what this helps with is an individual owner can come in here and say, hey, I don't have the availability to do this. Or maybe a contractor comes in here and says, hey, I'd really like to do this on this property. I need some help with the demo, and we're going to rebuild and revitalize. And so we pay this out. And I think what that, in things like that, I think it's a big benefit to the community that we're not going through that normal condemnation process that we went through already tonight to set a hearing, to send out all these notices, to do all these things. It's just another alternative means that we have. It's the same pot of money, because if we go demo these 5 other structures, all we're going to do is take the money that we have in our demolition contract, we're going to demo those structures, and we're going to put a lien against the property. At least in this instance, the property's been turned over to the land bank, or the property's been, has a new house sitting on it within a couple of years, whatever the case may be. So
I would add to that, some of the ideas behind this as well, obviously with all of our blight pursuits, whether it was the atrium, the worm guy, whatever the case may be, we all want that to be the private property owner to take actual ownership of the issue. And we've been trying to establish a way to have like a carrot in addition to the work that we're doing. This is money that already lived in the budget, but we're trying to find a more creative way to use that to get the private property owners to take ownership of the issues that they're causing. And so blight affects property values, drugs, homelessness. There's a significant amount of issues that can bring. So I just wanted to clarify at least where this is coming from.
Is there opportunity to get federal grants to do something like this?
I don't know, Jason, are you aware?
I'm not aware of any, but we can certainly look into them as
To me,
well.
that's something I'd like to check into, because,
Sure.
I mean, I know it's a double-edged sword, and I've heard a few people complain, that we're using tax-paying dollars to demo buildings, but yet when you have a building that needs demoed and the owner's not gonna do it, how do you do it, I mean, we have to get rid of them, but I don't like using tax-paying dollars to do that. I do like your idea where if they'll sign it over to the land bank, then we're getting the entire property and not pennies on the dollar when it goes to the tax sale, so.
Yeah, we tried to put a little something in there that, if the city's gonna foot the bill for the whole thing, then there's
Yeah.
gotta be some
I mean, that
give and take
makes total
on the
sense.
other side of that,
At least then we have the full value of the lot.
Of the
now,
lot.
Not pennies on the dollar.
And are we putting a line item in every budget for demo? Like, I know that 100,000 is from years. I know that 20 years ago, we were demoing houses regularly.
Yes.
And we quit doing that, but we kept funding that for a while, correct? Are we currently funding that line item? for demolition.
We are currently funding the demolition line item, yes, but it's not considered, it's not broken out into any specific, like what that demolition money is going to be used for. I mean, it's basically in one big pot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I would add too that, say, if we don't do this program, we would still deal with the property maintenance file issues of the properties anyway. And then it just goes to the court process, it'll get drug out. And we're always wondering, why is it taking forever? I mean, there you go. It seems like once it goes to court, it's stuck there.
And the other thing with going through this process and having essentially the title work done and their commitment to turning it over to the land bank, which doesn't make us whole, going through this process versus letting something go to the tax sale or the blight process that we mentioned earlier is that this ensures that the city is not the fourth or fifth lien on the property, because once something goes to a tax sale, the county is the first person essentially to get the funding. And then if there's anything left over after the tax, the back taxes that are owed, then it would go to the city, the other taxing entities, and then the lien of the demolition would be considered. So when we're going through the blight process for properties that are very close or nearing their tax sale time, the consideration of we will never be made whole is very real. Even on this doesn't make us whole in theory. But it's the opportunity that a demoed property can be improved, whereas a rotting structure is a huge hurdle to overcome when making an improvement.
No, I mean, I like this plan. I mean, because it makes sense where if they'll sign it over to the city or do something with it. I just would like to see maybe look at federal grants and.
Sure.
I mean, I know federal grants are tax dollars, but if we don't take it, somebody else is gonna take it. So if we could get it to help, that would be, you know.
And I think on these things too, when we're talking about the tax burden of the city, I mean, and how we spend taxpayer money, I think you got to put into consideration when we demo a residence or a commercial building or whatever it is. I mean, then you have the lack of need for fire response to that location because there's no longer building there. I mean, you have the lack of need for police response, and so there's other things to take into account besides just the fact that we spent $5,000, $6,000, $7,000, $8 on a demolition cost of the structure itself.
On some of these properties you have on the actual list, like what's it cost to demo like one of those houses?
It just depends. I mean, approximately we've spent anywhere from $5,500 to close to $10,000.
Okay.
That's kind of our averages. Most of them running anywhere from $5,500 to in the $7,000 range, and that includes scraping the site clean, taking out the footings, foundation, and it really depends on first story, second story, basement,
Right.
you know, all that stuff. So,
I guess I was talking more just like a simple
Square
ranch.
a simple
footage.
slab on grade
Yeah.
home that's ranch style home. Yeah, I mean, you're probably talking $5,500 to $7,000. I mean,
Yeah, I
on
just wanted some
average.
sort of kind of like
Yeah.
what would that potentially cost?
That's
So,
what most of our other ones that we've had, where we've had fires and stuff like that, and we've had to demo, about what they've cost.
Would a property be eligible for this if it wasn't a complete demo? If they were only doing a partial or like leaving a garage or like if
Well,
they
they-
wanted to demo a,
Can't leave a garage on a property without a primary residence, so.
but if they have the intent to
but
rebuild,
If they have the intent to rebuild.
would that case
And they
be
were gonna rebuild
considered?
within a certain time, then we, may look at something like that. Just take it into consideration, because they're gonna rebuild, then you're gonna have the primary residence there, and if they don't rebuild, then we tell them they have to demo the primary residence, and we put a lien against the property. I mean, that's just the way it may go in some cases, but, yeah, I wouldn't have any.
Would it be
force to it,
eligible?
really.
I'm just thinking of situations that would come about that would be interesting and would hopefully, I don't know if hopefully pass, but be considered at least if if a person wanted to demo the house but keep the garage, for instance, and then sell it to a neighbor, an adjacent neighbor, and then replat it, so then it does have a primary residence because it's all one lot. Would that be, if that situation
Yeah,
arose?
we've had those situations that have occurred, not necessarily city money that we're spending to make that demolition, but, you know, an individual demoing the house themselves and then selling the lot off, replatting. We've had those discussions, and yes, it would be allowed as long as it meets code, that there's no, can't
Okay.
have more than one garage if it's not attached to the house, and, I mean, there's
Other
other things
things,
to
okay.
consider, but yes.
I would add too that this was run by the Housing Commission, and they were supportive of this as well.
Any other questions for Jason? Thank you.
All right. So on this next slide, I just want to update you on a couple of the blight programs. So obviously, this is kind of the four means that we have for our blight programs that we've put in place or that we are putting in place. So I'm not going to go into that last one too much because we're going to bring it to you here in a few weeks as far as what that process entails. We're going to bring it back to council just to kind of explain what that state statute process is, because there's a lot of legal things with Carissa, our housing coordinator, moving on to another job. I'm still trying to jump in and understand some of the things about this program under the state statute. So right now we have our normal code compliance process and then the condemnation process that we bring here to city council. Then we have our Hutchinson residential revitalization program, and what this is a contractual agreement with Interfaith, and so there's a process where we work with Interfaith to get them to purchase the houses, and some city funding goes towards that process, and then they revitalize the property. So most of the cost burden at that point is on Interfaith because they're doing the reconstruction. We're basically in kind of the administrative portion of that, and then we're in the demolition process of that. So really most of that burden is still on Interfaith to revitalize the property. And then the third one, the Structure to Soil Initiative, which I just presented to you. And then the last one, the state statute process, which I'm not going to really go into tonight, like I said, but we'll be bringing back to council here very soon. And then this last slide, is there any questions on any of those? Sorry, any of those processes? This last one is just the commercial condemnations that we've been discussing over the past few months. So 806 North Plum, one that was on our list. That was purchased at the sheriff's tax sale back in October. Since that time, the entity that purchased that has demoed the building, and they are currently backfilling right now. So that's where we're at with that right now. So it's looking pretty good over there if you haven't been by to see it. 2100 South Bone Break, also known as Bernard's, that has been demoed completely, and so that demolition is complete. 22 West 5th Street, demolition is in progress right now over on the alley side behind the landmark. They have demoed the little white building that was on the corner right there of 5th and the alley right there behind the landmark. And so now they're doing some asbestos abatement within a couple of the buildings, and once they get that complete, they will finish the demolition there. 401 and 405 South Main, we've been working with the property owners. We've had some good open communication with the property owners there. They are working to revitalize 405 South Main right now. Once they get that done, and they're going to re-roof, they're going to redo the facade on the front. They're getting a new electrical service to that building. They're going to do some electrical work, and they have been working on this. Once they redo 405, they're going to move a lot of their stuff that's in 401 out of there into 405, and then we'll have to make a decision at that point. What do we do with 401 South Main? 411 South Main, there's no change. I don't have any updates on that one. 3001 East 4th is the same, along with 2100 North Jackson, and we have property maintenance, ongoing property maintenance violations and conversations with these individuals. 211 East 4th Street is also no change. So this one, originally when we discussed this one, the church on 4th Street there was, the property owner was going to demo that building themselves. They got the asbestos testing back. It tested positive for asbestos pretty much throughout that entire place. The asbestos bill was pretty high. I don't know what that bill looks like, but my understanding was pretty high, and that's what kind of determined for them as the property owner not to demo that property at this time. So there's no change on that currently. And then 1221 East 4th Street, some work's been completed out there. There's really no change on the building itself, but he has cleaned up a lot. The property owner has cleaned up, and I spoke with him today again before this meeting, and he's cleaned up a lot of the like brush that was up against the building, the trees that were up against the building. Really a lot of that, the work that needs to be done on that building is painting and some touch-up type stuff. It's not going to take a lot of money that the property owner is going to have to put into it, but it's going to take some nice weather. So I wouldn't suggest go painting in February in Kansas. So it's kind of where we're at on those. If you have any questions, I'll stand for those.
I have a question. You didn't mention 1321 East 4th.
So 1321 East 4th, we removed from the condemnation process, but that building is getting renovated, and
They're open for business.
And
They were on our original list, right?
Yep.
Yeah. I
So-
think that's a great success story.
Yep. So that's looking really good out there.
Yeah.
Now, in some of these that have no change, are you able to communicate with the owners? And
Yeah, we've had communication with all these owners. We haven't had any, and it's been good communication. So, yeah, we haven't had any that we haven't been able to reach or been unwilling to speak with us. So, yeah.
And the, which one is it? I think it's probably 3001 East 4th. That's the one that changed owners, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, and they've got a permit for that front building there on the corner. I can't remember what the 4th and whatever street that is.
Yeah.
I can't remember that off the top of my head, but the hotel itself, the old hotel building, that's what we're considering as the condemned structure back there. And they have not done anything with that to this point, so.
Okay. And 2100 North Jackson has had a building permit.
Had,
Okay.
yes. And there's multiple property maintenance violations out there right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As we move forward with these no change ones, what does that look like with our budget woes? I mean, are we just going to continue to bond these and do these, or what do we?
So, I think at this point, when we look at this list and we look at these properties, I think we make an informed determination of the cost, have them evaluated and to determine the cost at least of what these are going to take to demo. I mean, when we talk about 411 South Main, we already determined that there's an adjoining wall with the property next door in 413 or 4, whatever that is next door. Some of those skip a number there on South Main. But there's an adjoining wall, so we know if we tear down that building, it's going to cost about $500,000 because we got to build back part of the adjacent building too. And so we know kind of where that cost lies at this point. So I think it's really just kind of evaluating these on a case by case and making an informed decision and maybe working through some of the code compliance process. I mean, there is also a legal process to this. So maybe it stays out of the city council room and goes to a legal process at some point. And so if it goes to a legal process, maybe we get the property to change hands at some point to where someone that will do something with the property. So there's options out there. And one of the options we're going to talk about, that state statute, is a statute that Missouri has that is much, Kansas took Missouri state statute, rewrote it, and there is some differences, but we're starting to see some movement with that here in Kansas. There is some properties in Leavenworth that are being renovated right now. And there's about 5-6 lawyers in the state that constantly kind of work on this program, that are very familiar with this program and the way it's enacted in Missouri and what those stipulations are. So maybe there's some other alternative means to get those properties to change hands with property owners that are going to do nothing with them.
And I don't know if this is a question for you, so feel free to pass it off, but if we were to seek CDBG funding for these properties, it would require the cooperation of the property owners, right? They would have to be.
I'm going to go ahead and skip off on that one.
Okay. Matt, can you answer that question?
Answer to that. I think probably I don't know if Carissa would probably have the best answer for that, but.
Okay, so we can't like apply on their behalf, and we could tell them it's available, but the deadlines and the pre-application is open right now. So, okay.
Any other questions for Jason? Thanks, Jason.
All right, thank you.
Next item, Mary.
Item number 10, report of city officials, council.
We'll start on the other end of the table, Darren.
Okay, I'll start. Well, I just want to give a shout out to Graham, I don't even know his last name, at Startup Hutch. They had their, I believe it was their monthly meeting last week and had a good speaker. Brad Pryor was their speaker. I attended that so I could meet some community members, and it was very good. I want to call you the nice couple here in front. I want to personally thank you for coming tonight. I have been trying to get more people to come to the meetings. I hope you come back. I mean, I want to hear from the community, and you made me do a lot of thinking tonight. And now, one other thing I'm going to say is you ask about the agenda. I just recently learned this myself. If you go to the city's website, you go to agendas, and you find today's date, and you pull that agenda up, it's got the entire packet there. Now, I'll warn you, don't print it off. Because the first one I did, I hit print. I came back in, I was at 250 pages. And then I looked and we had about 110 left to go, so I stopped. So probably best just to look on it online, but it's very informative. It's got all of Angela, our finance director, back there, all her financials, and my gosh, the what the city spends, just the electric bill. You know, it's very informative. So I wanted to put that out there for you folks and for people on Facebook and YouTube, that is very informative. And then, like everything we talked about, all that's in the packet. So I just want to encourage you to look that up. So other than that, one other thing. There was an issue with a water leak Sunday that apparently occurred in the morning, and the people called in, hit the wrong button, and finally at like 8 o'clock at night, I got tagged on Facebook, so made some phone calls. I talked to Enrico about it, and he's planning on getting the proper information out soon on who to call or how to contact the city for after hours or weekend water leaks. So it kind of turned into a fiasco, and it was just misunderstanding. So that's all I have.
Greg?
Was reading my monthly magazine of the Kansas League of Municipalities that we get once a month. It seems that our city manager's in here. He got an Early Career Excellence Award, another one. So anyway, it's right here in print. I guess that means something. Congratulations. And I think that's all I have. I do appreciate you guys. Maybe I didn't come off that way, but I do. And I want you to also go to the agenda. You're going to see everything we see. So you're going to have all the information that we have. Now, we may march in here and say, hey, what about this to staff? But anyway, that's all I have.
Mr. Garza?
Okay. Now to me. Thank you for me not being first.
Yeah, absolutely.
Switch it up. I'm taking that for you, Steve.
I appreciate that.
Being the new guy.
All right. I've been on the council a long time. I worked for the city for 33 years, so I have a little background in the city. My biggest thing is that we have a lot of services we provide for the city and our citizens. And one thing she didn't mention was pools. Our pool's a highly costly thing that we do every year, and we don't make no money at it, but we provide a service for the kids to have somewhere to go in the summertime. So the city has a lot to do with pools. Come in, put this down on your calendar. I'm going to have a meeting on January 21st. It gives you 2 weeks to get all your gripes and complaints and screaming at me. They don't scream at me, they talk to me.
February
2027 or?
21st.
February or January?
January 21st.
We've already passed
How
it.
about
We've already passed
February?
What day, what are we at here? That's right, I'm a little old, so what's today's date? It's the 21st. Help me out, what is it?
February.
February 21st, there we go. February 21st, we're gonna have another my meeting, so I'm not just losing it, but, January 21st, you wouldn't come to my meetings, they're great. I got all the street department, I got everybody there. That's the whole idea behind my meetings, you come and ask me a question, I got the people sitting there to answer your questions. So it's a good one, we get one-on-one, and I buy coffee and donuts, and we have a sit down and we have a talk. This is for the citizens, and would you please put it in the email for February 21st? Everybody come out, I enjoy that, and we have good talks, and it's a get-together for the city to come and ask questions that they don't know about what's going on. So other than that, I want to tell my wife at home, get the dinner ready, I'm coming home. Thank you, that's all.
Where's your meeting, Steve?
It's at the zoo. At the zoo. So,
I don't have anything to add.
so
You got
make sure.
nothing, Stacy?
No.
What?
No.
There's no way. You have nothing to add.
The meeting's at the zoo. That's what I had
What
to add.
about for you? Do you have anything to add? Drop the mic.
No, here, I'll add something.
Shit, I keep going.
The trash fiasco that happened over the snow and holiday weekend, I talked to Delwyn at Stutzman's, and he said in the 31 years that he has been at Stutzman's, he has never had a holiday weekend and a snowstorm fall at the same time. I know there was a lot of frustration with trash not being picked up and people feeling not communicated to. However, Stutzman's has an app, which the city also shared on their Facebook page, and I know Delwyn has talked to at least a couple of city staff about how to better promote that. In the app, you put in your address, and then you get an alert the day before your trash pickup. So like if your trash pickup is Monday night, you get an alert Sunday night at 7 p.m. to tell you to take your dumpsters out. And it tells you if you have garbage and recycling or just garbage that day. In there, you can also pay your bill and you can appreciate your driver. So you can essentially just say like, hey, they're super friendly. We have a great driver on our route. I can't remember his name, but my boys love seeing the trash truck, even though it's at the most ungodly hour in the morning. But if they're awake to see it, they're out there, and he honks and we wave, and it's a lot of fun. So they're good guys, and they're all doing the best they can. I am confident that canceling trash service that one day or day and a half that they had to was the right decision to keep their staff safe, and I'm glad that Delwyn made that decision. So please download the app. He personally updates the information in there, so if there is a delay, your app will update and say that your trash pickup has moved or been delayed. I think you can also alert them that if there was a missed pickup. And if you ever need an additional trash pickup, it is $15, and they will clear however many dumpsters you have. And in the 2 times I've called and had it done, they got there within the same business day, within 4 hours on a Friday afternoon. So it's really helpful on days that you are like cleaning out the garage or doing spring cleaning and stuff like that. So love Stutzman's. That's it.
Thank you. That's actually great. I was actually going to speak to that, but not as in-depth as you did. So that was some great information. Thanks, Stacy. So I want to also appreciate you guys for coming and encourage more people to come. Again, we are here representing the community. You're actually in my district, and so we want to hear from you. I mean, that's why I've reached out to multiple people over the last couple weeks. My phone number to call me. We've had conversations about the sales tax, stormwater runoff fee, budget, all sorts of things, and I just encourage that. That's what we're here for. And we want to make sure that we're transparent and doing what the community wants done. And again, we all five sit up here and make these decisions, and they are not easy decisions. I mean, every time you have to tell somebody we have to cut this or do this, we don't want to do this, or you have to raise taxes or potential do this. I mean, most times it's not fun. So it's a hard job, and we accepted that task, and we are willing to take the phone calls to help our city move forward in a positive direction. That's what we're here for too. And so I'll move off from that and go some positive things. Last week, we had some good events with staff. We had a staff luncheon where a lot of our staff were recognized. That was a great event to see them and be honored in the positions they're in. And then we had some conversations with staff and a little training at the end of last week. Some of the council members, which was great. I appreciate the staff for putting the time in, coming to that. It was very informative for me, and I think everyone else that was able to attend. Again, I think we have great staff, and I really appreciate them. And then we had a great turnout for most of you probably don't know, the Men of Hutch Cook event on Saturday night. There was, I think, 16 booths. We cooked up food. People came in and judged. Obviously, my team did not win, but we raised a little under $6,000 for the Hutchinson Community, Salt Hawk Community Support Organization. So that was a positive thing we did there too. So I think that's all I have. Enrico?
Just really a few items, and I think part of what I'm going to share here is to, again, try to tell the story of what we've been doing to find efficiencies and save the taxpayers' money. I know at times you can look at the golf course and why are we talking about this? Believe me, I had that same feeling as well. It's hard. And so this is not an exhaustive list, but it is to demonstrate that we are doing something in addition to the normal everyday routine work. So with the IT department relocation, the city consolidated its information technology operations by moving staff out of an exterior building and into City Hall. This reduced facility-related expenses and is estimated to save at least $20,000 annually. Park development scope adjustment, and this is in reference to Grace Arbor Park. A proposed new park, which was originally estimated at $750,000, was reevaluated and scaled back to approximately $100,000. That still met the neighborhood's intentions of having something there for the youth, while at the same time saving the city $650,000 in the process. Both needs were met. While not trying to resurface old wounds, but we also held discussions about the future of Memorial Hall. I mention that because not everything that we see here we just blindly accept. It is deliberated. We want to hear from the people whether we agree with their views or not. I mean, it is healthy to discuss that. It is important to let the voices be heard. Position vacancies not refilled. So far, there have been 6 city positions that have become vacant due to retirements or just general attrition. After review, those positions were not refilled, primarily through efficiencies gained with how the work is handled. So in some cases, for example, in Public Works, we had 2 foreman positions that, due to their retirements after hitting 30 years or so of service with the city, they retired. We consolidated those 2 positions into 1 supervisor position. That cleaned up the org chart and that streamlined efficiencies, and everything is okay. And we've done that for several other positions, and we will continue to look at our org chart as we move throughout the year, down and all the other years in between. Traffic signal removal. Traffic signals were removed at 2 intersections. This reduction in electricity, maintenance, and equipment costs results in $2,900 in annual savings. 117 million gallons of water saved in 25 compared to 24. By proactively addressing our operations and maintenance issues, we believe this has led to a reduction in breaks and restoring system hydraulics. Water lost through system leaks represents treated water that cannot be sold or used to serve residents. By reducing non-revenue water, the city has retained the economic value of what that water system is. While this does not create immediate new revenue, it preserves sellable capacity that can support future growth and demand without additional water production or infrastructure expansion and costs. At current retail rates, the recovered water represents approximately $757,405 in preserved sellable value, reflecting retained system capacity rather than budgetary savings. The city had around 40 water main breaks last year. In previous years, the average was actually closer to 90. Our crews attend water main breaks within an hour of receiving notice. Prior years, it could have taken weeks due to staffing and culture issues. So it was, well, we'll just get to it when we get to it. That was common several years ago. And we believe that by being proactive in addressing our fire hydrants, our valve turning program, and addressing the things that are broken, that's how we're moving the needle in this. And so everyone says, well, get back to the basics. Well, we are, and we have been. And I just want that to be clear because it is kind of frustrating that we get beat up a lot. There's no data there, but there's data here. EPA Superfund site cost savings. Through coordination with the Environmental Protection Agency, the city achieved approximately $200,000 in annual savings related to the work at the Superfund, reducing local financial impact while maintaining required environmental standards. We weren't able to reduce the entire scope, but we at least chopped some of it off, and I'll take that as a win. Stormwater flood mapping reduction. The city significantly reduced the extent of required stormwater flood mapping, lowering associated costs while still meeting regulatory needs. The proposed FEMA map has been reduced by approximately 55%, and continued efforts will further reduce coverage and long-term obligations. That's savings for every resident that was potentially impacted by that map. Again, we could have done nothing, but we chose to fight that. Reduced reliance on consulting contracts. The city has reduced the use of outside consultants by moving engineering services in-house. Achieving full staffing is critical to this approach with potential savings of up to $300,000. That's how much we were relying on other people to help us out. Fortunately, with the mad scientists like Evan and others, we're able to do a lot of that in-house. Policing efforts. With full staffing for the first time in 25 years, the police department has achieved measurable results. The overall crime rate has reduced by almost 13%. And for my plug here, I do believe that the removal of blight is possibly aiding in this reduction. Because if you think about it, the atrium received hundreds of calls, hundreds, and sometimes multiple times a day. There's drugs, there was almost a shootout, there's a lot of homeless issues. Now when you remove those dead buildings from the city's system, now you can be more proactive with what you want to do on the streets. So I just wanted to make that known. And there's also, these are some miscellaneous items, but they're more community-minded. And I think it's very important to say these. The city suspended late fees on utility billing during the SNAP funding crisis. We didn't have to do that, but we were conscientious of the fact that there are people that rely on funding in order to make ends meet. And so we were contributing to that cause of trying to help people out. The city created and implemented a utility billing assistance program to help those that struggle with paying their water and sewer bills. We've never had one before, and we have one now. The city created the Facade Improvement Grant Program to assist commercial properties with upkeep of their buildings. kind of similar to the demolition grant program we have here. We reduced commercial building fees by 50%, lowering upfront costs for businesses and encouraging reinvestment and redevelopment. The city waived water and sewer tap fees for residential construction to assist in the affordability of new construction. And if the sales tax were to pass, we would also be looking to eliminate the stormwater utility fee. Also, again, aiding in people being able to have more expendable income. Again, no city is doing that. And I would encourage anyone to say, okay, what cities are willing to cut stuff? Like revenue that they're bringing in. I mean, I'll wait. The list isn't very long. And so part of this here, I mean, it is a little tiring that you five get beat up all the time. I get beat up. Those are facts. And oftentimes there's no facts presented on social media. And I get that not everyone has the time or the patience to listen to a council meeting. But before people jump to a rash conclusion or a hastily conclusion, call one of you five. If you want to take the call, because some don't, call me. I'm always willing to hear someone out. And then finally, on the sales tax itself, there's been a lot of issues kind of surrounding what we did at the last council meeting. It's frustrating because we often hear, you need to be more transparent. You need to open your books. I mean, our books are online, but notwithstanding the fact that our books are online, I get that, well, how did this decision get made? And maybe that's what they mean, so you got to play mind reader. Well, how was this decision made? So, taking into account how was this decision made, last council meeting, we then started talking about, here's all the issues for the world to know. Because had we not done that, the only two people that would really know the gravity of where we're at is Angela and I. You know, naturally, I tell you all, hey, this is really bad. But outside of you five, Angela and I, that's it. Is that good government? And the answer is no. So it's about being transparent, about being honest, and I do want to clarify a few things on staffing of the fire station and all of that stuff. The objective there was to not say, if the sales tax doesn't pass, we're cutting a fire station. The objective there was, there is nothing left to cut in the fire department's budget other than people. And that's why we shared the entire spread of all of the department's budgets. It's a menu. If we have to go through the exercise of, okay, we'll cut this piece, and in this department, we'll cut this piece, the default is not, we're just going to cut people. I mean, maybe through attrition, maybe you can gain some efficiencies like we did with the other positions that we just did. But that's not the default. We're trying to educate people, this is where we're at. It's the reality of the situation. You asked for transparency, we gave you that. But then it turned into, oh, this is just a scare tactic. How? That's what I want to know, how? You literally asked for transparency and we gave that. So that's kind of all of my remarks, but I did want to address those issues. So otherwise, council, if you have any questions for me.
Well, I want to just piggyback off of that for a second. And the budget session, like the first 2 minutes of the presentation, which was your part of the presentation, I think your remarks were that, but a lot more simple. Essentially saying that, you know, we're heading into budget season this spring. And, you know, from a technical side, we have to know what we're looking at. State law gives us 3 considerations for when we can hold an election. It's because we can't do that on our own. It has to go to the voters. March 3rd, August 4th, and or the Tuesdays, and then in November. And if we hold the election in August, then our budget is due to the state in early August, and we won't know. We would have had to come up with at least a couple of different budget options. And then we hold our revenue neutral hearing between August 20 and September 20. If we hold the election on November 5th or whatever it is this year, we would have to pass our budget, send it to the state, and then it becomes a document that we are accountable for before we know whether or not the sales tax would pass. So putting it in March is truly the only option that we have. And yes, it's going to be an election that costs us money. That's the nature of the beast. But people get to vote on that. And personally, when considering the floodplain and the just economic impact that's going to have on our community, I think it makes sense to share the burden. And we can look at the Cosmosphere, Stratica, and Roads sales tax, that one's still active, right?
Mm-hmm.
That one took, because that part of the website's still up, I was just looking at it. But I closed my tab. Dang it. That's why you should never close tabs. That one took millions of dollars off of the tax rolls. And that meant that people coming into our community were helping pave our roads. They still are on that quarter sales tax. So we can prove that we've completed projects, we've been good stewards of the funds, that the sales tax is not a scam. And honestly, still the people who are the most vocal about not having one don't even live in our community. And they're driving on our roads and they're receiving fire protection and police protection without paying their fair share. And I mean, I don't do a lot of shopping in other communities in Reno County, but that's what sales tax is for, to offset the needs of the infrastructure and the needs of the city. So I think it makes sense, and I hope people do a lot more research than just saying, oh, well, taxes suck and I don't want to pay another couple.
No, I completely agree. I mean, the reality is it's the only sensible option we had. Our budget is, we have to certify our budget in August. And with the county sales tax that they were pursuing, again, for completely different issues that they were trying to tackle. I respect the county. I get along great with them. So this is not a knock, rather than it is we just have different interests. So I just wanted to preface with that. But if you really think about, again, our timeline and just rule that out, right? Okay, say the timeline was not an issue, even though that was the reason, the biggest reason why we didn't pursue it with them. You would then assume, okay, the city is going to take its financial, a financial risk and everything that we have to worry about, and then give it to the hands of the county for them to consider. So now they're having to weigh what we're all thinking here. And say then they have to arrive at the conclusion, okay, we'll do this. Then it has to go to the state. So then the state legislature needs to be convinced, yeah, this is a good idea. Then it goes back to them. Are we sure we want to do this or not? And then finally it goes to the voters. So there's so much political volatility there that even considering that as an option is still a substantial risk, no matter what you do. And we're in a position where whenever we've tried to cut stuff, people end up packing this room like Grace Arbor Park. And so it's not that easy when people say just cut something or cut a department. Those are real people with real jobs. It's not that easy. I mean, maybe it's easy in the private sector. I don't know. But it's not that easy for the work that we do because we're service-oriented. You know, I think the thing that gets frustrating at times, and I'm not necessarily frustrated at the people that make the comments more than it is just the understanding. When people say the city needs to be run like a business, on one hand you can say, okay, maybe they mean waste. Well, everyone has different interpretations of waste. But if you were to just on its merit say we're going to run it purely like a business, potentially whenever you call 911 you get charged for it now. Or, depending on how many property taxes you pay, maybe your road gets mill and overlaid because you pay more, and then everyone else gets coal patch. I mean, if you really wanted to run it like a business. Or your water bill is just as expensive as your electric bill. Nobody wants that either. And so I'm not saying the city would or wouldn't do those things, but when people make the statement, it should be run like a business, is that really what you mean? I mean, if you really think about the implication of that statement. That's the tangent I had for that. But I do want to add with March 17th, we really need to consider whether or not we still want to have a council meeting. The mayor will be on vacation around that time frame. And then council members Fast, Garza, and myself will be attending a conference to advocate on behalf of the citizens of Hutchinson to our federal legislatures. It's good practice to do to make sure that those at the top don't forget about us. Because if there's anything I've learned in doing this work is if that you're not at the table, then you're on the menu. And so that it is good for us to make sure that the voice of Hutchinson is still alive and relevant even at the federal level.
So we wouldn't have quorum.
Correct.
Then
we could either just not have a second meeting in March or figure out a different date, whichever is easiest. We would try to restructure any city business around that in the event that we don't have the second meeting in March.
Angela, do you foresee anything with bond sales or anything coming up that we wouldn't?
Then I would say we just don't have that meeting. I think we just not have it, so.
Yeah, that works.
Is that St. Patrick's Day?
So I just want to speak to your comment a little bit too, just 2 seconds. No, I appreciate you commenting on all that. Just on the basis of I've had a ton of people reach out just to get clarity. And again, if it's still not clear of what you just went through, call us, email us, come see us, and we'll help get that clarity so you know exactly what we're trying to do. Again, we're not trying to hide behind something to do something that's going to take away from our community. We're trying to do something for the betterment of our community. And so I think if we do that, again, just reach out if you have any questions to Enrico, myself, or any of these other council members, and we'll help you get that. If we don't know the answer, we'll help you get it. So that's kind of comment I have on that. You guys have anything else?
Move to adjourn.
Do we need to have an executive? No.
Oh.
Then I need a motion. I guess you're in.
I need a second.
Second.
Hold up, are we going to executive or no?
No, sir.
No? Sounds good to me. All right. I'm gonna get to eat early.
Truin?
Yes.
Garza?
Yes.
Goss?
Yes.
Fast?
Yes.
Hager?
Yes.
Oh, I think I'm on vacation on the 17th too, so that's why we canceled it.